Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody out there. Welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. This is going to be session 2 for a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition campaign set in the homebrew world of Rostfeen. This is in the kingdom of Vykaril. Castles, knights, Arthurian legend, things of that nature. If you haven't seen session 1, don't start here. Go back, watch session 1. It's going to have a lot of bearing on what happens this evening, for certain. So, the name of the campaign is Beneath the Banner's Shadow. I'm going to pass this over to my players in just a moment so that they can do their introductions, tell us who they're going to be playing, plug whatever they would like, and then we can get started. Tonight's episode is titled Hardened Hearts, and hopefully that will become apparent. It won't become a parent. It'll become apparent as we play. Also, I would like to send out a huge thank you to Rachel Ayers. She is the one who designed all of the banners, the shields that you'll see throughout the course of this campaign. The hounds agree. And she did a terrific job. So thank you. Before we get much further, I am going to, like I said, pass this over to the players. So first up, we have Steve.
Hey everybody, I'm Steve. Glad to be playing in this game with Jeremy and the group. I'm playing Dane, who is the, I guess as we saw last time, perhaps the most innocent being in the known world. We'll see if that continues or if everybody else ruins it for him. But yeah, Dane is this young man on a quest to be a hero. And he's found himself this group of individuals who maybe he'll glean something from.
Maybe. And maybe even vice versa. Okay, next up, we have Karen.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I am Karen. I have a budding YouTube channel called Myth and Gears. And if you're interested in seeing a Genesis live play, that's what we're doing on that one. Tonight, I'm going to be playing Ariana Shial. She's a corrode elf, one of the Seldan Shialarvan. And right now, she's in a whole bunch of turmoil emotionally. And we will see how that plays out tonight.
Indeed. All right. Next up, we have Josh.
Hey guys, my name is Josh. I'm from the YouTube channel Roll the Bones, which I have an announcement to be made here now. I think that the first episode of my world building series is coming here within the next couple of weeks. So looking forward to that. But tonight, I'm going to be playing Ed Bainton of the town Warrington. Ed had some pretty tumultuous events happen to him not too long ago. He still dealing with his first time ever killing somebody, be it out of self-defense. He's struggling pretty hard with that, but maybe he'll have a chance to, instead of running away from his parents, face them and leave out on his adventure in a different light. So, yeah, that's about it.
Excellent. Right. Next up, we have Baron.
What's up, everybody? I'm Baron. As you can see, I'm dealing with game number 2 of system malfunctions. Hopefully, I can get that corrected in the near future. You can find me over at the YouTube channel RWD Gaming. Come check us out. We've had some new stuff go up the last couple weeks, and I've got session 0 of my upcoming online campaign, the Year Edition Dragon Heist, coming October 28th. So come hang out as we explain the world and get into some drinking games. Tonight I'm going to be playing Masaka Tord, Paladin of, well, not yet taken an oath, but we'll see how that plays out after I fight my relatively new rival, Sir Jonathan.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I hope you get your camera situation figured out soon. I miss your face, brother. All right. So last but certainly not least, we have Eli.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eli Kurtz. I am happy to be here as always. I am the head honcho of the Mythic Gazetteer. We publish role-playing games and that sort of thing, do some actual plays as well, such as an actual play of Blades in the Dark that we're running right now with Jeremy and Baron and our good friend Derek. So you can check us out on our YouTube channel or find me like on Twitter and stuff like that. Tonight, I am going to be playing Sir John Lightenor. He is a young knight from Oxfeld Duchy, and he is on a quest to redeem his family and regain their glory as shield bearers to the Shieldhouse Mellowayne. But for now, I find myself in quite a predicament because I am sworn to uphold justice. And unfortunately, someone I thought might be a new friend stands in my way. So we will see how things go.
Indeed we shall. All right, so yeah, if you are new to this channel, this is a mature game. These are mature people, at least in their years, and there's going to be mature topics and mature language throughout. So if that's the kind of thing that bothers you, you really should not watch any of my games, really, to be truthful. All right, do you guys have any questions before we get started?
Can we start?
Yeah, how can we start faster?
Fair enough. Okay. Here we go. The town of Warrington was certainly an outpost, situated far to the north of the entirety of the rest of the Vykarilian kingdom. This place was kind of the last real safe haven, the last bastion before heading into the wilds of the North Country. Chiefly Gendon's Wall and whatever God's forsaken place might lie beyond there, at least according to the humans. For that is the land of the Elves, the mysterious and ancient elven nation who, until recent years, was at peace with the Vykarilian kingdom. But now that peace is strained. It's been raining here in Warrington in the north, as it often does this time of year. The streets are slick mud, all aside for the main thoroughfare, which happens to be cobbled. And in this street and in this town, recent events have turned somewhat dire. There's been murder done here. More than one recently. And while it's not wholly unusual, the circumstances that surround the trial, the hearing of this latest murder, has become a trial by combat, an old way of doing things that some do not recognize. But it's being called today as how this situation will be handled. Through the throng of gathered villagers, the cleared square ahead contains only two men. One, a man of a noble house, Sir John Lightenor, and the other, a man of Angorian descent, an orc. Named Tord. The two of these have no real quarrel with one another, except that they have both been hired as champions of the two involved parties in this hearing. The rain lets up, going still. But before this combat commences, we cut to earlier, the wee hours of the morning, just before dawn, where we see another human man shackled and seated on the floor of a cell. His hands held before him, kind of between his knees, as he picks a plate of stale bread and moldy cheese. The door to the exterior of this cell opens. This man kind of raises his hand against the torchlight that comes in. And finally, as his eyes adjust, he looks up to see the face of an individual that he hasn't seen in a very, very long time, until yesterday. You again. What do you want?
I want to talk to you.
Talk to me. What could you possibly say to me?
What do you mean? There's so much to say. It's been so long.
Yeah, it's my whole life almost.
Aye, yes.
Why today? Of all days, why would you show up today?
I don't know. Must have been the blessing of Luna to have us cross paths this day. I don't know. I've been hoping to see you again. But this is not what I wanted. What happened here?
You heard it all.
I want to hear your story.
You left my father to raise me on his own. I grew up half a human, half an elf, but no elf around to help. No elf anywhere in sight to help me understand anything about who I was, or half of who I was. Not to mention the fact that I didn't even have a mother. Do you notice that? Of course you don't have any idea what that's like.
Trevin, it's not my fault. I was called away. I had to go.
For 20 some odd years?
Yes.
You couldn't once make it back to see us, to see me?
I could not. Not till now. Not till I got assigned here.
The 11th hour. Oh. Assigned here. So that's really why you're here. It's just happenstance. You didn't actually come to see me.
I am a Seldan Shieldhouses. It is not my life. I go where I'm needed. I protect. I fight for the Enelrivan. It's bigger than us. It's bigger than all of us. It's our people.
Certainly bigger than our family, I suppose.
No, that's not fair.
Bigger than my father, bigger than me, obviously.
Aye, bigger than me too. It's not what I wanted. Yes, I left. I left you. I left him too. You know, it was the hardest thing I had to do. That's what I had to do.
If you'll forgive me, I can't care about it being difficult for you. You can't even fathom the situations that I was put in. You know, I have a lot on my mind.
Well, that's why I'm here. We need to talk. I need to know what happened so we can deal with this, so we can get you out of here.
How are you going to get me out of here? The Justicar has already made her demands.
There's this human. He seems a fine sort. He said he would fight for you if he was allowed. I don't understand it all, but if he wins, you're free. And we can go.
Then what? Then I owe my life to some stuffy-shirted noble?
Well, we can deal with that when it happens.
I can't live here. This place that I've called home my entire life would never be home again. These people wanted me dead. I have killed the son of another family that lives here.
For protecting your own boy. How is that wrong?
How am I supposed to stare the family members of that man in the face ever again? He was doing his duty. Maybe not as a father, but as a soldier.
Come with me, north of the wall.
To be hunted?
No, to live. To be free.
To live with the elves. To go dance and sing and drink wine all day.
And to have your boy be who he is. And practice his nature. Without persecution here. If at least think of him.
You lecture me on the concern that I have for my child. Listen. I don't know what you want me to explain. My son has always been capable of extraordinary things. I don't know if it's your blood or what, but it's certainly not something that I'm capable of. His mother was caught stealing. Or at least so they said.
Why? Well, that cannot be true.
She was a troubled woman. I don't know. I don't know whether to believe it or not, but it doesn't matter. Bodhi, against my better judgment, was at the execution. And he attacked the executioner. He burned him with some kind of magic. I don't know what it was. And everything just went sideways from that point on. Next thing I remember, I was standing over the body of... I killed him. I did it. I know I did. The blood is on my hands and on my blade still.
But you were protecting your son.
I did. But at the cost of someone else's.
Don't give your life. This life for a life thing makes no sense.
It isn't my choice. It's the law. It's just simply the way it is.
But if this man, this Sir John, if he wins,
If
Will
he
you-
wins.
will you come north?
I can't promise anything. I'll need some place to go, and I suppose north could work. Look, I don't need any kind of connection from you. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, it's all water under the bridge. It happened a long time ago, and I don't need to know why. I don't.
That's fair, but there's many years left. We don't have to be strangers. It doesn't have to end like this.
I suppose we'll see, won't we?
Aye.
Your son's fighting, or your friend is fighting 2 battles tomorrow.
I'm putting my faith in him, but we'll see this. If he cannot fight, I will. You're not staying here.
Well, then I think that maybe you should get some rest.
And you as well.
He kind of silently picks up the piece of cheese and begins chewing on it, staring at the plate.
And Ariana Shell would put up her hood, put down this veil, and turn and go so that nobody could see that the tears kind of start to roll down her face.
Well done. Take a point of inspiration, Karen, please. So we cut back to where this already bloodied arena sits with 2 men about to lock in a mortal combat. Would both of you, please, Sir John and Tord, roll initiatives?
All right, that is a 19 for me.
It'll be one of those days because I got a 19 too.
Oh my gosh! Okay,
Oh
both
my.
of you roll d6s, please.
All
I got a
right.
5. I got a 5.
I got a 1.
Okay. So, by the split second, Sir John, you are able to act first.
Okay. So Sir John is armed. He's wearing his chainmail armor with his cap, helmet, and he's got a tabard over the chainmail that is the red and gold of House Lightnor, and the rampant the rampant hawk of House Lightnor is displayed on his chest. He also is carrying a shield with that same emblem and a longsword in one hand. And he has already spoken with Tord at the end of our last session to try to understand why Tord would agree to do something like this when he knows Sir John is his opponent. And the time for words is over. And so Sir John is going to kind of size up Tord, pacing a little bit back and forth. And then he's going to rush in and really challenge Tord's space. But he's not going to attack. I'm going to use my action to take the dodge action, which means that if Tord attacks me, it's at disadvantage.
All right. So as Sir John charges forward, almost I imagine almost feigning like an attack. Toward what do we see you do?
So as he rushes in, I'm sure he maybe tries to feint one way or another. I try and like shield bash him off whatever side he's on. Maybe if he's on like my sword arm, this is like a forward punch. Mechanically, I'd hope this is still just like a weapon attack, but for flavor's sake.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're using a shield, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. And you are proficient with shields?
Yes.
Then you can add your proficiency bonus to the attack roll, but it will be at disadvantage.
So I am, being Angorian, am a fair fighter. So that means if I'm ever in a single fight with one other person who is armed and conscious, I have advantage on my attacks. So that would neutralize my disadvantage, correct?
It will.
And can I burn an inspiration point to give myself advantage?
No, because no amount of advantage and disadvantage ever stacks.
Okay, just curious. So yeah, we're looking at 16 on the die for, you said strength and proficiency.
Yes, this would be a strength attack.
Okay, so 21 total.
For what it's worth, my AC is listed as 16 on my overlay, but it's actually 18 when I'm carrying my shield.
So this shield bash connects with you, Sir John, probably quite unexpectedly.
Is that a D6 of damage for a shield?
No, a shield, I think it's a D4 plus your strength.
Okay. Roll high. 3 plus... Okay, strength is 3 for the record. It's total of 6 damage.
So what does this look like, Sir John, as this shield collides with you?
So John is kind of dodging and weaving in to get Tord off of his game, but turns out Tord is quite the fighter, and so he anticipates this and just swings around with this shield and knocks Sir John backwards. I think it's back, and it almost twists his ankle as he stumbles backward. He actually falls down to a knee. And he's got his shield up, and he's like braced down, ready for what happens next. Am I free to act right now, or is there anything else going on?
Yeah, we cut very briefly to see Ariana Shial's reaction to this. What do we see?
She's actually not giving much away at this point, but she is, maybe if those who would know her, she would be kind of a little bit, she's very tense. She's very kind of taken aback a little bit, steps a little closer to where the prisoners are held.
Yeah, currently they're all kind of standing around the edge of this, near the executor. And what about Dane's reaction? What are we seeing from him?
I think with that that sort of twist of a leg and collapse to the ground, Dane has like bolted to whatever sort of impediment there is to get into this ring. Maybe it's like the corner of a horse stall or just some rope, and he's pulled himself up on it. And he's no, Sir Lightenlord.
I have a bonus action as well. I'm sorry. I don't want
to. Okay. Sorry, go for it.
As a bonus action, I would like to burn one of my spell slots to Divine Favor. So basically, you just see the only one that would actually notice anything is probably Sir John, as like a heat of battle is kind of radiating off the person in front of you.
And what spell did you cast?
Divine Favor. I get to add until the spell ends, which is 1 minute. I can add an extra 1d4 radiant damage on a hit.
Okay. All right. And Eddard, how is he reacting to all this?
I imagine that Eddard is probably standing next to Ariana Shiel and the prisoners, just kind of on the side of the barricade, just kind of watching the fight. Earlier, before the fight had started, he had seen the face of the man he had killed, so he's kind of not even in it. For I guess lack of a better term, he's not very focused on the battle. He knows that these two people that he had just met briefly the night before are in a duel of literally mortal combat, but he can't help but look around the crowd, and his attention is elsewhere.
Where's the little boy at this point?
He is standing surrounded by several of the Warrington guard, not far from where Trayvon is. And nearby, kind of at the edge of the crowd, there is this carriage, this barred carriage, waiting to take any of the possible prisoners away until they are to be executed, if that is how this turns out.
So I think Ari would actually make her way kind of towards where that carriage is. So she's kind of going to be standing in the way of, like, if the prisoners are starting to walk, like if they're walking towards the carriage, they would have to pass her first before getting there.
Certainly. Very possible to do. Okay. We cut back to this ring, this cleared space. Sir John, what are you doing?
All right, so John is down on one knee, and he's going to immediately pivot and swing with his longsword, and then I'm going to also use an action surge to do an additional action after this one. So let me roll and see about this attack. That is going to be a 21 to hit, a 16 on the die.
Absolutely.
Cool. And for damage, we've got 6 damage total. And then, so what that looks like, Sir John is swinging his sword basically at toward shins and connects there and gets him off balance just enough. And then Sir John is going to rise to his feet, and he's going to shove toward back and attempt to knock him prone.
All right, so I believe that is an athletics check from you, and then Tord can make either an opposed athletics or acrobatics check.
Cool. So my roll then is, ooh, that's a natural 20. I got a 25 total.
Okay.
Yeah, you definitely beat me.
Nice.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, Baron, what does it look like as this shove overtakes Tord and he goes down?
Well, I underestimated the fire in you, Sir John. I'm a little top-heavy, if you can imagine.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
So Sir John has just knocked Tord onto his back, where you kind of land with an ooh against these kind of hard cobbled roads. There is mud all over them, but not certainly enough to impact your fall. Tord, it's your turn.
Oh, son of a... As Tord expends half his movement to get up, I am going to... I almost imagine like a slight parry of swords for a second. Not just like we're hauling out and doing massive attacks each time that succeed or fail, but like there's a small banter of swords and, a clanging of steel as I get back up. And as maybe I swing high and Sir John goes low, just by sheer, push of my muscle, I bring the sword down with the flat of my blade rather than the cutting edge. And with fair fight, I'm rolling with advantage. Ooh, natural 20, buddy.
Alrighty.
So we're looking. I'm sorry. I got a 3 and a 20.
So the way that I handle criticals is it's your max damage plus your roll.
Okay, so just a 1 plus 3, so a total of 12.
12 damage?
Correct.
Wow, okay. Down to 2 hit points. I'm looking pretty bad.
I actually get to do an additional d4 radiant damage. And I rolled a 3. So with the air, there might be even like a slight like mist around us as the heat of our chainmail and swords hitting each other, the sparks flying. Like I said, I went for a high strike that you easily were able to go under, and I don't know if maybe the chaos of my nature got the best of me, but I did an unorthodox technique, and I just smacked the top of your helmet with the flat of my blade. And the last thing that I don't know, not necessarily that you see, but the last feeling you get from me is that of sheer just wrath, not anger, but like fury. If you were being like in a natural sense, this is the wolf on the hunt.
Sir John collapses to the ground under this hefty blow that Tord has dealt. There's a collective from the crowd. And from Trayvon, you hear a gods. Just then, the executor calls from the edge of the gathered crowd. She looks at Tord and she says, "You must finish him off. It's the only way that it is legitimate."
Well, regardless of the codes that your people stand by, I have those of my own, and I will not kill this man, for he has not wronged me.
There's a cry that goes up. Heresy! Blasphemers! All of you see a separate group of individuals beginning to make their way towards this gathering. They were not a part of the original group. And these individuals carry with them farm implements, and torches.
Jeremy,
Yes, sir.
not knowing who these people are or whether or not Tord will be forced to do this, Dane scurries like on his hands and knees if he has to out into the middle of this fight, and he's going to grab and try and lift up Sir John's sword and stand very protectively near him. And when hearing these voices, he'll turn with that sword, and it's not being held in an expert swordsman sort of way, but it's the best that this kid can do, as it's shaking in excitement and fear, but he's standing over top of Lightmore with the sword.
Can I cast Cure Wounds on Sir Lightnor?
In the current commotion that is being caused by this approaching mob, yes, you absolutely can.
Dane, you're going to need to help me stabilize his head. Oh, actually, you watch me. Make sure they don't come for me.
And I'm gonna.
Dane nods and like.
I'm gonna kneel and can I ask Sir John what is something compassionate that he might be dreaming about as he's unconscious?
The sweet embrace of my Lady Laudine.
Perfect. So, as you're imagining that, I kneel down and like put one hand on your chest, one hand on like the side of your head. You regain 9 hit points as you feel just like the warmth of her embrace, the revitalization of someone you love holding you, and then you are rudely awakened to my ugly visage.
So John is going to start back into consciousness and look around him and then see you over the top of him. And he's going to pull his legs up and plant them against your chest and push you backward as hard as he can.
Yeah, I'm totally not expecting that, so.
Easy, man. Get to your feet. We got bigger problems.
Yeah, so John gets to his feet and he reaches down on the ground for his sword and then he doesn't feel it there. And so he looks around and he sees Dane standing there with the sword. And he's about to reach over and tell Dane to give him the sword. And then he sees the mob on the other side. And he's like, what the devil is this?
People want their own sort of justice, you humans.
Eddard, what are you doing currently?
The crowd that's moving in, how many is it?
It's probably close to 60 or 70 individuals. It's a large throng of them.
Okay. Do they happen to have like a clear forefront? Like, is there one person leading the charge?
Yes, there absolutely is.
Okay. I would like to cast Dissonant Whispers on the man in the front.
Okay.
And with that, I cover my mouth just so much as to let mostly none of my lower jaw show, just a little bit of the lips. And with one hand, swipe over, and I say, heresy is the least of your worries if you do not leave this place. And he needs to make a wisdom saving throw.
Okay, and what is the DC? We're gonna
13.
Yeah. So you see him falter in his step for just a moment, and he reaches his head up to his temples. You cannot trick me. Words of the devil, of the devils below, will not taint my mind.
They succeeded at the save.
He did.
Okay, he takes half damage. He takes 6 damage. 6 psychic damage.
He winces but presses forward. Lightnor, now that you are back on your feet, you can hear the telltale whistle of your trusty entourage member, Pigeonhawk, where he is whistling that danger is approaching.
All right, so I think he's not there with me. Would he be like off, on lookout or something?
I imagine that he's probably perched somewhere with a little bit of a vantage point because he wants to see how this is going to play out anyways.
Okay, so then is it that he's telling me this mob is trouble, or is he telling me there's trouble even beyond that?
No, it seems like he's trying to alert you to this mob.
Okay. Cool. So let's see here. One quick note: his name was changed from Pigeonhawk to Ansel of the Valley.
Oh.
I just noticed that in my own notes, and I was like, "Oh yeah, he's not Pigeonhawk anymore."
Very well. Ansel of the Valley.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so John hears this whistle, and he does hold out his hand to Dane at this point, and he says, "Better to give me the sword, boy."
So Dane turns, and you still look beat up, but better. So he hands the sword to you, making sure that you have a firm grip on it before turning loose of it. And you can see there's like tears in his eyes, but he's trying to do that tough kid thing where he's trying to like almost suck them back into his eyes as he's looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here you go.
So I'm trying to remember exactly everything that Sir John was unconscious for. I think he grabs a sword and he stands up and he kind of, before he takes the sword from Dane, he puts his hand on Dane's shoulder and he's like, "I think it is best if you were to stand back for this." And then he takes the sword and stands up and gets in front of Dane. And he's kind of standing next to Tord at this point. And he's giving him a strange look, but he looks back at this father figure at the head of the mob. And he says, "Excuse me, but you're interrupting a trial by combat to determine the guilt or innocence of a criminal. You cannot do this. You must stand aside while we settle this combat."
Heretic, you do not deem the ways of law here in Warrington. The Baron is who deems law. And of course, Brandol, in his infinite wisdom, the God of law above, through me, his vessel, gives us the right and correct path forward. You and your ancient ways, the old ways, they are no longer our way. This Justicar is not welcome here. By edict of the Baron himself and me, Father Geslin Gledeofon, word keeper of Brandol. This witch boy will burn. The crowd behind him goes crazy. Yeah! The Justicar steps forward. She says, "You cannot do this. Justice has been done here. As far as I'm concerned, the matter is settled. These people are free to go, with the exception of him." And she points to Trevon. He says, "I care not what happens with the murderer. It is the boy who must burn." There's someone who leans into this man's ear and whispers something. He raises his hand, his single finger, and says, that one. And he points to you, Eddard. The man beside him who whispered nods, and he says, and that one there. He, too, is to be burned alive for his heresy, as he was witnessed casting black magic by the Baron himself.
Sir John is going to speak up, and he's going to address both the father, Gladeophon, and the executor, Sinwif. And he's going to say, now see here! It is my understanding that the law of the land was passed down by King Mathuran Gabrain himself, not some baron who swears fealty to the king in absence. I am a knight, sworn to uphold the kingdom, and you are standing in my way. However, I hear also that the boy is doomed to die. However, the trial by combat, in which one of us was supposed to die, has not completed. We both still live. He looks over at Tord. I will not allow you to stand here and tell me that justice has been done until justice is truly done.
You are from House Lightenor, are you not?
Is it the executor, or is it the father who's talking to me?
This is the father.
I am Sir John of House Lightenor.
Your Western sensibilities do not apply here, knight. He almost kind of spits the words out.
I stand in the realm of the king. North, south, east, west, it makes no difference.
We have a queen now, in case you hadn't noticed. The king, his ways of doing things, are just as cold as his corpse. We have adapted. We have grown in the wisdom of Brandal, the god of law above us. He has spoken. He has deemed these methods of the barbaric days of old, of our tainting in dealing with elf and orc, are no more. No more. Grab the boy. Several of these mobsters start making their way pretty violently through the crowd, pushing people aside, and are headed straight for Bodhi, the half-elven boy. Anybody who wishes to act, let's roll initiative. Okay, what do we got here? Ariana Shiol. A 22. Dane with a 20. Sir John with a 19. Tord with a big old 4. 2, 3. What am I missing? There he is. Okay. Eddard with a 17. All right. Let's see what we got here for the baddies. So, Ariana Shiol, by quite a bit, you are up first.
So, as soon as the mob started entering on scene, Ari would have looked towards where the prisoners were, and watching what the Justicar and the guards were doing. And as soon as they mentioned the boy, she'd be headed over there and to basically grab him and Trevin and flee. She's gonna so her movement speed is 40 feet, so I assume she can get there and potentially pick up the boy and continue going.
So yeah, you're able to kind of push your way through the crowd back to where the prisoners were actually standing, and you're able to kind of bodily pick up Bodhi. And as you do so, Traven kind of turns around. What are you doing?
Come with me now. There's no time. Let's go.
Fine. Where? And he kind of turns and starts following you.
And I would head the opposite direction of where the mob is coming from.
Okay.
And away from the Justicars and the guards.
Several people kind of start shouting, "Hey! Hey!" All right. Dane.
So Dane's gut instinct was also to protect Bodhi, but seeing Ari get there first, he changes tact sort of in the middle of this run, knowing that the horses that are pulling this wagon are going to be well trained, but also being raised on a farm. As he's running, he pulls out his belt dagger, and I'm going to slit the withers of one of the horses, not deep, but enough to cause it to buck and move. And as I do, I'm just going to tuck and try and lay underneath the cart as it lurches, so that hopefully causing a distraction and some dishevelment of all these people.
All right. So you move up and make a slit in the back end of this horse, and it absolutely does buck up, respond, and start to take forward. The other horse with it, not really knowing what's going on, but falling into step. The driver, who was not paying attention to the animals in the least, all of a sudden is scrambling for the reins as this thing starts tumbling forward. Everybody who's nearby absolutely kind of dashes out of the way as quickly as they can, trying to get free of it. Sir John.
So John is going after, let's see. So Ariana Shial is covering Bodhi and Trevon, and Dane's just caused trouble with this horse. Is anybody attending the father yet? I don't think so.
No.
Okay, yeah, then I think Sir John is going to move toward the father, and he's not going to attack or anything, but he's got his sword and his shield at the ready, and he says, "Look at the chaos you're causing here. Give up now, and we might give you mercy."
Stand in the way of our justice. We will trample you beneath our feet.
Your justice is not the justice I uphold.
So be it.
I think I'm going to take the dodge action again, because this guy is like an unarmed peasant. I wouldn't straight up attack him.
He actually is not unarmed.
Oh, what's he got in his hands?
It's not currently in his hands. It is hanging at his belt, but it is a mace.
Okay, yeah. Well, if he's not holding it in his hand, I'm not about to go
Fair
after him. Yeah.
Okay. That brings us to Eddard.
Okay, so I was nearby where the prisoners were and Ariana Shia was. And she just ran in and grabbed Trevin and Bodhi, correct?
Yeah, she's kind of picked up Bodhi. I kind of picture almost either under her arm or maybe over her shoulder. He's not an overly large boy. And Trayvon is kind of running after her, and the two of them are talking to each other rather animatedly.
Okay. Are there anybody? Is there anybody chasing behind them?
As of now, not immediately behind them. There are several members of this mob that are pushing their way in their direction and are now starting to pick up the pace because they can see that they're running.
Okay. I think I'm just going to take my turn to cast the prestidigitation cantrip and shower some sparks over the area to kind of cover our escape. And then I'm going to take off as Ariana and Trevin pass me. I'm going to follow them.
Several people immediately around recoil and shout as you do this. He is a magician. He's cast magic. Shield your eyes. Don't look at him. All right. Father Geslin is standing before you, Sir John, and he reaches down and pulls the mace from his belt, kind of just pulling hard enough to make the leather tongs kind of come unwound. He says, "You feel you have your family's name to stand behind you. I have the blessing of a god." He casts a spell, and spirits rise up from the ground around him. And brandish weapons at you, Sir John, as he casts Spirit Guardians. They flit to a distance of 15 feet around him. And while anyone that he deems a non-ally is within the area, your speed is slowed to half. And when you enter the area for the first time on a turn or start a turn within it, you have to make a saving throw against these beings. Okay. He kind of almost steps back so that he's nestled better amongst these spiritual warriors who now surround him as they come charging in your direction, Sir John. Tord, your turn.
Whew, bottom of the order. It's deep down here.
So, I'm going to use my full movement to get to the edge of this fence here. I'm going to hop the fence and back up Sir John.
Does that actually put me close enough to this guy?
To close with the father?
Yeah.
Yes, but you will have to step
make
into the Spirit
wisdom.
Guardians to do so.
So wisdom saving throw of...
It is a wisdom saving throw of whatever you get.
11 on the die. I'm not wise. This is bad. Oh, +2 proficiency, so 13.
A 13 is what you needed. So, you will take half damage.
Okay.
And
I probably shouldn't cut this guy down after I just said I wouldn't kill people.
you take 12 points of radiant damage.
Oh, dear.
As these spiritual warriors surround you and hack at you with their weapons.
I go down.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, Sir John, you're standing there, watching these spiritual warriors gather, Tord comes running forward, steps amongst them, and they fell him quickly.
Yeah. So John is taken aback by this, but I don't think I actually have the ability to do anything right now, right?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Angorian orcs do not have the relentless endurance ability, correct?
I do not think so. I don't have it pulled up in front of me currently.
If I don't think so either. I didn't write it in here. So
yeah. All right. These villagers begin shouting, "True justice! True justice in Warrington!" They start moving forward, pursuing Ariana Shial, Trevon, Bodhi, and Eddard. Most of them rush past where Tord has just fallen, and they move to rush right past Sir John.
Can I do like an opportunity attack against them?
Against one of them, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I absolutely will. These are, I'm sorry, you said these are peasants, right?
Yes, they are the villagers.
Okay, yeah. Then it's just going to be, I'm using my longsword, but I'm actually going to hit him with the butt of my pommel.
Okay, excellent. Do some dual damage.
Yeah. So I got a 21 to hit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they are minions, so they only have 1 hit point.
Okay, cool.
So you can describe what it looks like as you kind of just bludgeon this one unconscious.
Yeah, so this group rushes past, and this is actually the guy who's in the front, and they're all coming around, and they move past me as I'm doing this, but I come up and I like, the guy locks against my shield, and he's kind of grabbing it and trying to pull it down, and I let my arm down so that he's got a fair shot at me, but I also have a fair shot at him because his arms are dragging the shield down, so I just bop him right in the forehead with the pummel, and he goes down.
He does. He collapses into a pile, and another peasant running by picks up the shovel that he was carrying and just keeps on. Other people in the town have started kind of swaying to the judgment of this father figure. Apparently, he is a known priest here in town, and the numbers of the mob start to turn and sway against your favor. They step over the body of Tord, seemingly content with his current state. However, they're not close enough to close with anyone but you, Dane. You are lying upon the ground as this wagon leaps forward and leaves you exposed. As these villagers run up to you, wielding their clubs and hoes and pitchforks. What is your armor class, Dane?
13 at the moment.
Okay. One of them barely misses you. I don't know if you wear any kind of armor at all.
Yeah, just simple leather.
Okay, so it's only because of the leather armor that this pitchfork does not skewer you. However, this hoe comes down with considerable force on the back of your hand, dealing 3 points of damage.
So Dane cries out in pain as the bones like break. Right, that's half his hit points in his hand, and so like his left hand just shatters, and he wrenches backwards, kind of rolling to his back in that sort of reflexive defensive posture, screaming out in pain. And the words that come out are old, like anciently old. It would be like the equivalent of someone screaming out in like Bretonian. So they kind of ring through the air and hang with this archaicness to them. And with that, his right hand falls into this little puddle rivulet of water that's caught in the mud of the rocks and runs between these broken and trodden cobblestones. And for a moment, we can see this tiny swirl of light that leaves Dane's finger and travels along these cracks and through the water over to where Tord is laying. And with a force like being hit with cold water, Tord, you will recover 6 hit points. And at the moment that Tord breathes in like that, Dane does the same thing. It's just sort of, and his eyes roll back in his head. And for a moment, he's not there.
Okay. That was the villagers. So that was a little bit out of turn. So Ariana Shial, it is actually your go.
She is not actually paying attention to the fighting ring or anything there. Her only vision is to get these two away from these people that are chasing them. Are there any, like, does Dane hit that the horse of the wagon? Whereabouts is that in relation to where she is right now?
Well, I mean, of course, it's rumbling down the cobblestone streets right in front of you.
Well, then I'm going straight for that. I'm going to try to toss the boy in the back of. Is it just the wagon? Like, I mean, the wagon and the horse, or is it just the horse? I couldn't.
No, there are 2 horses that are still hitched to this prison wagon. So there's essentially kind of a front seat on it, and the yoke that kind of runs up between the 2 horses that are drawing it. And the entire rest of it is kind of enclosed in these iron bars.
Okay, I will try to get to the front there and toss the boy up and somehow get both Trevin and myself up onto that bench seat so we can grab the reins of these horses and get out of here.
Okay. I'm going to need an acrobatics from you.
All right. That would be an 18.
Okay, excellent. And for Trevin, you got an 18 on the die. So both of you kind of climb up into this seat beside this driver who is panicked, reaching for the reins of this horse as he's kind of starting to get them under control, trying to figure out what in the world's going on. He kind of looks over sideways at the 2 of you. What are you doing? Get out of here.
Would I have have I used my action?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. But then we'll have to wait.
Very well. Okay. Dane, you had taken your action with casting a spell. Is there anything else you wanted to do on your turn?
Nope. Lay there in surprise.
All right. Somewhat stunned, still kind of laying back. The villagers around you began yelling, "We have another one! He's speaking witch as well!" John, it is your turn.
John has sat here and he watched Tord fall, right? And
Before you go.
Oh, yeah.
Before you go. You are beginning your turn within the confines of these spirit guardians.
Yeah, so I need to make a a save of some kind, you said?
Yes, it'll be a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. Natural 20, and it's a 22 total.
Excellent. So you will also only take half. Full is 7, and I round in the party's favor, so you will take 3 points.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I'm not doing well, but I'm not dead. That's good. Okay, so let me make sure I understand the picture of this. I am basically wrapped up with these ghosts and Tord, and then there's a separate area where Dane is being attacked by a mob that passed by me.
Correct.
And then there's a third separate area where Ariana Shial is getting the wagon commandeered.
Yes.
Okay.
I would say maybe 20 to 25 feet separates each of these groups.
Okay. And the father is mixed up with the ghosts. So did the father move off somewhere else?
He is kind of at the rear of where these ghosts are, kind of nestled amongst the thick of them. You basically one step forward and you'd be able to close with him.
Okay, gotcha. Well, so here's the thing. Sir John watches Tord go down and realizes I have to act. And then Sir John, this mob passes Sir John by, and he is about to go attack these spirits when all of a sudden he hears a boy's scream behind him, and he turns around and he sees Dane cradling his hand. And so he doesn't actually see that Dane's magic brings Tord back. He screams out, "To Tord, he needs your assistance now!" And then he's going to charge out of these spirits and toward the peasants to help out Dane.
All right. As I said, you can reach him with 20 to 25 feet of movement. And you kind of come up to the rear of this small knot that is brandishing their farming implements down at Dane as he is laid out on his back.
Yeah. There's no action that I can use to attack everybody within range, right? I can't. I have to target people.
I don't think so for your class at this level.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Then I guess what I'm doing is I've got my sword in one hand, but I'm actually reaching with my shield hand, and I'm grabbing people by the shoulder, and I'm just going to throw one of them back behind me. So this is another one of those push rolls, or whatever they're called. Shoving them. Yeah, shoving them back. And basically this guy who's closest to me, I want to knock him prone as I get close to Dane.
Okay. Yeah, so just roll. You can have advantage because they didn't realize that you were coming up behind them.
Okay. So that's, if it's athletics, then that's 24 total.
Mm-hmm. He has absolutely no hope of doing anything about that. So you handily throw him to the ground.
Yeah. I like to imagine I actually pick him up off the ground a little bit too. It's like a diagonally up kind of throw.
Yeah.
And so
he's a little
flies
lighter than you thought he would be.
Right. And I'm just like barreling into this group. If I've got any movement left, then what I would like to do is set up shop next to Dane and have my shield at the ready to defend.
Okay. So the rest of the peasants that had gathered around Dane certainly fall back a half step. Not entirely certain that they're ready to take on an armored knight at that. Okay. Eddard, it is your turn.
Okay. Where is Tord at? Is he like nearest? Is he near the father and the spiritual guardians at this point?
Yeah,
Yes.
Unfortunately, I'm still on the ground with them.
Okay. The way I see this happening is that Eddard is running with Ariana Shial and her son and the son, and they hop to the cart, and he thinks I could hop to the cart too and just get out of here. He looks to his left, and he sees Tord under the feet of the father and these spiritual guardians, and he kind of sighs to himself. He's in a full sprint at this point, but instead of sprinting towards the cart, He sprints to the left and he ducks under the rope heading into the arena. And he heads straight for Tord. He gives himself about 40 feet. And light starts to come from around his hands. And it's a mixture of blue and green and violet. And he swirls it around. And he shows to the Father the light. He's his divinity. Why are you so afraid of arcane? Maybe if you took the time to study it, you would learn something. And he casts Fairy Fire, blasting the 20-foot radius around the Father and the spiritual guardians, cloaking them all in a blue, green, and violet light. For that, any attack rolled against them has advantage, and they are no longer able to be invisible.
All right. Several of the villagers around him, who are now covered with this this fairy light, start screaming, "It's on me! It's all over me!" And they start like frantically running just haphazardly around. The Father kind of looks at it. "You have tainted me with your blasphemy. I will kill you. You will burn. Heretic!" Just then, Eddard, a figure steps in front of you. The figure, however, is not facing you. It takes you just a moment to realize, because you're staring at the back of the Justicar Executor. Her weapon is drawn. Her helmet is on. And she says, "By the power of Evandel, you will not touch him. Not while I still draw breath. You claim to follow one of the virtuous divinity, and yet you reap this chaos." She turns and looks over her shoulder. "Eddard, was it not?"
Yes, my lady.
"I will pretend I did not just see what came from you. You need to run. Get the others that you call friends, that you stand with today, and get out of this town. I will hold them off as long as I can." She then turns and charges forward.
Before she charges, Eddard says, "Thank you, my lady." And before she gets too far out of range, she wants to cast Bardic Inspiration using a bonus action. She gets a D6 on that.
Excellent. She charges forward, having to step into the Spirit Guardians as they hack at her as well, but she seems ready to combat them, knocking some of them back with a free hand, swiping through some of them as she steps up and closes with the Father. As she does so, she leaps over where Tord is laying. "Run! Get up and run! They will need your strength." She swings, but misses the Father as he steps back and uses these ghosts to somewhat hide him. It is the Father's turn. The Spirit Guardians continue to attack all around him. He holds his mace above his head and brings it down towards the Justicar. But she easily steps to the side, and it does nothing more than spark against the cobblestones beneath her feet. All right. Tord, it is your turn.
I'm gonna get up and run.
I mean, getting up takes 15 feet of movement, so I can get 15 feet away. I can use my action to dash. So 45 feet.
Probably
Okay.
running right next to me.
I want to try and hook up with Eddard.
Yeah, you kind of muscle your way through a lot of this crowd and find yourself kind of meeting up with Eddard as he's running in the direction of a cart that is kind of rumbling down the street. You see off to the left, as you kind of passed, you could see Sir John entering a knot of villagers with what looks like Dane laying on the ground nearby.
I probably like when I bump into him, I look at him and like grab him by the shoulder, like,
Oh, you all right, mate? You're on tack? See what you did for me? Oh, you big time. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, don't mention.
Right. Villagers who are nearby to Sir John and Dane are going to turn and try their best to attack these heathens. Sir John, they apprehensively strike at you. You said your armor class was an 18?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. One of them only missing because of your armor, perhaps even just because of your shield, glancing off of you. This shovel just kind of makes this resounding ting as it hits the edge of your shield. The other one coming at you with a club just doesn't even come close. Two more step forward, trying to attack Dane, who is still upon the ground. Missing the first one, missing horribly. The second, however, hitting as it brings down another shovel for a single point of damage. Kind of right across your gut, Dane. Again, probably your leather armor protecting your stomach enough so that it doesn't cut you, but certainly not enough from the force.
Right. So Dane definitely guffaws and his eyes roll back.
Several villagers are starting to come into the streets immediately ahead of this runaway carriage. And it's obvious that if the driver doesn't get them under control, it's going to barrel right through these people. More of the villagers have swarmed around the Justicar and are trying to give chase to the wagon as spears are hurled from a few of the guards who are now joining this frantic mob. Ariana Shial.
As she's getting up into the cart, she turns, she sees the driver there, and she's like, "Get off the cart now, or I will hurt you." And if he doesn't look like he is going to jump, then she will lash out at him, like she'll punch him and then kick him off the cart.
He definitely hesitates for longer than you're comfortable with, apparently. And so you just deliver a cold cock right to his face. And he staggers in the seat, leans, and falls out of the seat, rolling into the side of the street and God knows what.
And then try to grab for the reins and hopefully Trevin as well. And she'd be yelling at the villagers, "Get out of the way! Not stopping!"
Right. So in order to try to get a hold of the reins, let's call it a dexterity saving throw.
I am going to use an inspiration on that one. That would be a dirty 20.
All right. So these reins, you watch as the driver kind of falls out. The toe of his boot kind of hits the loop of the reins and kind of knocks them into the air. And they're kind of up over the wall, the partial wall that he would put his feet up on. And you can tell that they're about to fly down in between the horses and completely out of the wagon. So you kind of launch yourself forward, and at first you hit this partial wall and aren't able to grab it. But then all of a sudden you feel two hands kind of on your midsection grab and kind of hoist you up in the air. And you reach out and grab these reins just as they were about to fall out of reach. And as you kind of look back, you can see Trayvon is holding onto you, kind of extending you out so that you can grab these. He grabs a hold of you and kind of pulls you back into the seat. So now you have control of these reins. I need you to make an animal handling check, please. Do you have proficiency with land vehicles by any chance?
I do, actually.
Okay.
I do.
And you can add your proficiency if you're not already proficient in animal handling.
I am not, so that will be very handy. Oh my goodness, that would be a 22.
Fantastic. So tell me what it looks like as you pull these horses under control.
So as Trevon pulls her back onto the bench, she's got the reins, and it almost looks like she's done this many times before. She just kind of grabs both of them and pulls kind of back and gets the horses under control, and then she gives it a good yeah and gets them spurred forward as she's holding these reins. She's got her feet braced and everything.
All right. So, yeah, you've kind of pulled them up, turned them around this throng of individuals that has wandered into the street, trying to figure out what this commotion's all about, narrowly avoiding them, and then whipping these horses into a gallop again as they take off, throwing you and Trevon and Bodhi kind of back against this front cage as they lurch forward again, start racing down the cobblestone street. You can see the wall of Warrington looming up ahead of you. It is the northern gate, which you know beyond, well beyond, lies the Gendon wall, the wall of Gendon, and beyond that, the home of your people. Dane, it is your turn.
So, having been sort of wrenched back to the goings-on by a shovel to the gut, Dane can see sort of like Nor there and this mob, and remembering the swing earlier that fell toward, Dane lashes out with his dagger at the shins of one of the nearby peasants, preferably the guy that just busted him in the gut. And I believe I'm at disadvantage from attacking from the ground, correct?
I think so, yes. I think melee attacks from prone have disadvantage.
So it'll be a 13 as the best roll.
That is still plenty to hit these unarmored salt of the earth people.
All right, it'll be 4 points of damage as this dagger just digs into the shin, perhaps sinking deeper than Dane would have wanted and connecting with the bone of that shin with this sort of sickening click as he just like hacks it in, not achieving the same sort of toppling effect because dagger versus sword, but this swing and a clap as he bites into the shin of this shovel-wielding peasant.
And he topples over as if it were a mighty sword blow, grabbing at his shins, probably not going to keep the leg if he survives the grievous wound at all. Okay, are you staying on your back on the ground?
I'm going to then struggle to my feet, initially trying to put down that left hand to help stand and gasping again in pain before just wrenching myself to my feet more in the same way that I do when I'm carrying this armor up and down hills and barrels, more as a chore than any sort of practiced combat technique. But I will make it to my feet, huffing.
So, John, you have seen Dane fell a villager, and he gets to his feet gingerly, obviously in quite a bit of pain from the injuries you know that he's suffered at the hands of these villagers. What are you going to do?
And everybody else is on the wagon taken off at this point, or Tord is like headed that direction? What's
Tord and Eddard, you can see, especially Tord, because he towers above most of these people. You can see him and Eddard beside him kind of running after the wagon.
okay? Yeah, and the executor is fending off the spirits. So I think so John is going to kind of be fending off the blows of these peasants with his shield, and he's going to reach out and grab. Well, I guess so. While he's been doing this, he sheathes his sword, and then he's going to reach out and grab Dane and pull him under his arms and say, "Hold on to me, boy. We're getting out of here." And then I'm going to take the dodge action and carry him out of this mob and after the wagon.
Several of these farming implements rain down upon your back, Sir John, as you grab Dane and rush after. They're not physically fit people in the same as you. And not even the same as Dane.
Of course they're not.
So they have difficulty keeping up with you. Though you can hear their angry shouts not far behind. Through the crowd ahead, you can still see Tord and, of course, beside him, Eddard. Eddard, it is your turn.
Okay, so for the majority of the turn, I think we're just going to book it and head towards the cart. But I would like to roll, you tell me if this is possible, just on the, it's kind of like a passing by. I'd like to roll an Arcana check.
Okay, for what end? What are you trying to determine?
I've seen some weird behavior from the villagers after the father was speaking. I want to determine if it's a spell that was been cast on them.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Technical 20.
Okay. So you don't get the sensation that a spell was cast upon them. The father himself was certainly using magic, but your best guess is that it's a divine sort of magic, not one that you're as versed in. But as far as you can tell, these villagers don't seem to be under any spell other than just the father's natural charisma and his sway.
All right. So, how are Dane and Sir John doing? They look like they're in as good as a situation as we can be in right now.
I think both of them have sustained some injuries. I don't know if either one of them is currently feeling top-notch at the moment.
Have they broken away from the crowd? I guess was the bigger answer. It looks like they're running. Correct.
Yes, they are certainly giving chase. They are on your heels, but they have not caught you yet.
Okay. So I just continue running. I chase after the card.
Okay, so as of now, the cart has not yet completely pulled away as it kind of slowed and is trying to go around some of these villagers. And since you have doubled your movement, you are able to basically get to where the back of the wagon is. So is your intention to try to leap onto it, or?
Yeah, sure. I'll roll acrobatics.
Yeah, acrobatics could work.
13.
Yeah, that's sufficient. You leap up onto kind of the back board that kind of runs, that's mainly for prisoners stepping onto to go in and out of the cage. And you manage to basically just kind of shove your whole fist through one of these squares between these kind of flat bars and wedge it enough in there that you're holding on.
I'm just riding on the back.
Yeah, for the time being. Okay, that was Eddard. The Justicar swings her sword. Oh, she's still in the Spirit Guardians. She needs another saving throw. And they make several open wounds on her as there's just simply too many of them. And her focus is on the father itself. The father brings up his mace once again, trying to strike at her and missing horribly. She is then going to swing at him. Ooh, that'll probably do it. Yeah. She takes 2 swipes, one of which will connect. And as she does so, you can see her charge this sword with some sort of divine power. A place in the cloud-covered sky opens for just a moment, and a small beam of light, this small ray, reaches down and touches the edge of her sword as she raises it above her head. And then as she brings her sword down, though she carries the blade out of the light of this ray of the sun, the blade maintains the glow that the sunlight had imparted to it. It cuts across this father deeply. You can see a gash open across his robes and what appears to be a chain shirt that he was wearing beneath his robes. And at the edge of this cut, the sunlight radiates for just a moment before it disappears.
So I imagine as they're running, I picture like Dane and Sir John are both watching this, and Dane says something like, "What a sword!" and Sir John goes, "What a woman!"
All right. That was both her and the father. Tord, it is your turn.
Don't you hate when you lose the mute button? So, Tord has met up. Actually, no. I believe Eddard had continued on his pursuit to the wagons.
So just like Eddard, you would have reached the rear of the wagon.
Is there any way we can acquire horses through theft or other means?
It's possible. You'd probably have to cut down like a side street.
How fast is this cart moving?
It's picking up speed.
Okay. See, yeah, I just fought against them trying to live, so I don't think they want me on this cart. So,
well, they're at the front of the cart.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stay behind it for now. Hang on.
That's me toward the you'll never know.
Okay. I see this going really poorly for me, but all right. I'm trusting you, Eddard. Yeah, I'm gonna get on the cart, I guess.
Okay, so you are gonna jump up on the cart. Okay. Roll either an athletics or an acrobatics, please.
$12 total.
Okay. Yeah, you jump up And at first, you step up on the back of this thing, grab one of these flat iron bars, and the rusted portion of this, where it meets, it bends under your weight as you grab a hold of it, and you almost fall backwards. But just before you do, you reach out and grab kind of this loose rope that's hanging nearby on the cart, and you manage to grab a hold of it with your other hand and stable yourself enough to pull yourself back on board. Okay. The villagers continue to press the advance behind Dane and Sir John, trying their best to grab a hold of them. You can see elsewhere other villages are starting to take up arms with the intention of joining this fray. The villagers that are still somewhat back have surrounded and closed in around the Justicar, cutting her off from view from any of the rest of you. Ariane Shial, it's your turn.
How far away is this gate from the front of the cart?
Basically, at the speed that you are moving right now, it will be 2 turns.
Okay. And is it open?
It is currently open. There are guards there, but it is currently open.
Yeah, she's just going to sorry, lose my words. Just going to have the cart go as fast as it can straight towards the gate. Not going to slow down at all. Just going to go.
Okay. Give me another animal handle check. Once again, if you can be proficient, since you are proficient with land vehicles.
Oh, that's not so good. That's a 12.
That's still sufficient. It is not gaining any speed, but it is maintaining speed as it is kind of straightening out on this cobbled road and is barreling towards the front gate. Behind you, you hear the bell of the church begin to ring. Ding, 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 ding. You can see visibly the guards at the gate have started looking that direction and are now moving into action towards the gate, trying to get it closed because they see you barreling towards them. Dane.
So Dane, running alongside under the literal wing of Lightnor, looks back at the guardian spirits and the mob that have just consumed this Justicar, and wincing, holding his hand, he looks up, maybe only seeing like the proud chin of Lightnor where he is. She saved us. She saved all of us. What are we going to do?
We are going to remember her, and we are going to live to tell her story.
I didn't mean to hurt him. The villager.
I wish you had fought a soldier for your first time. However, it must be said that you will have to hurt people in the future as a knight. But come along, we must get away.
So with like a gritted determination, Dane shoves his dagger back in his hip sheath and then clutches his left fist, sort of painfully using that hurt to urge himself further forward and wincing a bit as he does.
And though it takes them a little bit of doing, Dane and Sir John, the two of you continuing to run, cut a couple of corners and are able to get within arm's reach of Eddard and Tord. if they so wish to extend it.
Oh, actually, Torton and Editor are already on this wagon with Ariana Shial,
They
right?
are. Yes.
Okay. I was actually going to be running in a different direction.
Oh, fair enough.
Because my retainers are still in town, and they have our wagon, and so we've got to get back to them and make an orderly retreat to make sure they're safe.
Fantastic. So that begs the question, Dane, are you still with Sir John?
Yeah, there might be that moment of hesitation as he can clearly see this wagon with the other individuals escaping and knows that if he just runs, he can get there. But that would leave Lightenor by himself. And so he looks and then just turns and follows Lightenor.
As he's running, Sir Lightenor is reassuring him, "Don't worry, we'll meet up with them again soon, but we have to get our own things and get on the road."
You duck down a side alleyway between a baker and a tanner, where there is a modest stable and carriage house just one block off of the main street. You come running up, and a stable boy kind of looks up as he sees you kind of sweaty and bloodied running up. He's kind of stops what he's doing. What's going on? There's a lot of people shouting.
There's a mob downtown. I suggest you go home and you bar your doors.
Yes, sir. Yes. Can I get anything ready for you?
Yes. Well, my servant should already have my things hooked up to our wagon. I think if you just make yourself safe, that's all I want from you.
Very well, sir. Yes, sir. And he kind of throws the shovel down and turns and flees as fast as he can.
Yeah. So I'm going to look for, I guess, Bernard. He would be the one who's managing this orderly pack up.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a stable doors nearby that kind of burst open, and your wagon with the mule that pulls it kind of comes shambling out with pots and pans, like shaking loudly on it, with Bernard and Zettel kind of on the front. There he is. There he is. Sir John. Sir John.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Here. Dane, get on the wagon immediately.
He does.
So he's going to put Dane up on the wagon and then climb on himself, and he's going to keep his hand kind of on the pommel of his sword in his sheath, but he's not actually going to draw it. And he's going to turn around. Ansel, I think it's best that we hit the road. Please, take us out. And if you can, try to avoid the main gate.
He kind of looks at you. Well, how should we exit the town, sir? It's either the north gate or the south gate.
Okay, and the wagon with the others went out of which gate?
They're headed towards the north gate.
They're headed toward the north gate, okay. And the south gate is probably leading away from like where we were, or it's probably headed back the way we came.
Yes, it would be headed back into the kingdom.
Okay. Yeah, I guess then, because there's this mystery out in the forest still going on. So so John is going to kind of agonize for a second and go out the front gate, or go out the north gate. We'll meet up with them and we'll see what we can do. Hopefully it hasn't already been locked down.
He says, okay, come on, girl. Come on. Yeah. He kind of whips the mule and it kind of gets into action again and starts charging forward as fast as it's going to go. It goes out from between these buildings, and just as it's kind of bursting out onto the cobbled street and turning to the left, the mob has like come from down the street, and they see all of you. Yeah, that's the bastard right there. Get him! And they all kind of and charge forward.
Bernard, Zettel, cover yourselves in the back of the wagon. Ansel, full speed ahead. Dane, he turns and hands his sword to Dane. And he says, you use this, and if anyone gets close, you attack them. But if no one is drawing close, I want you to just watch and learn. So John is going to grab his pike, or his halberd, and sit on one side of the wagon, ready to like knock people away.
Absolutely. So you kind of have wrapped like your free hand or whatever, kind of in a coil of rope or something, and you've got this this pole arm kind of hooked under your armpit like a lance, and you're just kind of like hanging on as this thing is rumbling down the street as fast as this single mule can carry it.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, Eddard, from your spot on the back of the wagon, you hear the shout go up from the crowd once again, and as you look back, you see this scene, this other mule-drawn cart now rumbling down the street after you, with the angry throng behind it.
So there are doors on the back of this car, right? They're just closed at the moment. We're hanging onto the bars.
Yeah, there's a single door. It has a lock on it, but it has currently been unlocked and is kind of just hanging loose because they were anticipating having to put someone in it. Okay. It is currently shut, but you could open it easily.
Right. So Eddard leans in close to Tord. He says, "Tord, get this door open. We need to get inside. The guard at the gate is they're gonna have bows and arrows. We need cover." And then he just yells at the top of his lungs, "Ariana Shell! God's help you! Get us out of here!" And he's casting bardic inspiration on Ariana Shell.
Ariana Shell? You got me on a cart with the elf woman?
Just Carter, the ground over there.
Oh, fuck me.
Ariana Shial, how do you respond as you hear the orc's voice?
Well, she's about to yell, "I'm trying," to Eddard, and then she hears this rougher, growly voice, and she's like, "Elgarnet, what is that thing doing on this cart?"
Not the time.
"Oh, you've got some answering to do."
This thing continues to rumble forward. Eddard, are you simply kind of waiting for the door to be wrenched open before you hop inside?
Yeah. I was
okay,
using
perfect.
my turn to kind of give towards some direction and get that bardic inspiration onto Ariana Shell.
Perfect. Excellent. Okay. The battle further back seems to continue on. You see the light of spells and these kind of glowing spirits continue to do battle. As you know, the Justicar is not quite yet succumbed to the mob and this twisted priest. Tord, it is your turn.
I am going to try and get this door open. You said it was open, right? So I imagine it's just like maybe I'm in the way.
Yeah, like again, it's latched shut. It's just not locked. It's like a prison cart door. So all you have to do is basically just throw the latch and then swing it open.
Okay, so yeah, I'll do that. And can I push Eddard in?
Yeah, I think that was his plan anyways. So he's probably already headed in by the time that you kind of got to put your hand on his back and kind of help him along.
About how far away are we from this preacher guy?
It's a fair distance at this point. I would say it's probably maybe 80 to 100 feet.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna chance hitting random villager.
Yeah, they're too kind. That you wouldn't want that.
I mean,
No, fair enough.
so I would get in, and I would actually just I would maybe use my action to switch weapons to my longbow.
Is the intention to leave the door open, or are you closing it and latching it?
That depends. How close are the people behind us?
They're not. I mean, they're probably 30 feet at this point, but they are running in your direction.
Well, then could I make an intimidation check?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Everybody better stay back or you'll get an arrow to the face.
10 on the die for a total of 12.
Though it's probably not the most bravado that you have ever given off, these people seem to buy it. And you can see several in the front kind of halt to a standstill as the rest of them kind of collide into the back of them. Before there's a lot of shouting between them, and it sounds like they're trying to work up the courage to come after you again.
Can't you make this cart go any faster?
At the gates ahead, you can see these guards leaning into this heavy wooden gate and are bringing one side of it closed. You can hear, even from this distance, the kind of as the thick wooden portal, half of it at least, slams home. And they begin rushing to the other side. Ariana Shial, you're up.
Is there still room to put the cart through the one side? Maybe. She's going to try. We are going to go straight for it. No stopping for anybody. If they don't get out of the way, then trample them. So roll. That would be a dirty 20.
Okay. Yes. You angle this wagon to the still open half of this gate. Several of these gate guards turn and see you approaching. They abandon the attempt to try to shut either side of this gate and instead ready their weapons. One of them has a spear. The other has a greatsword. Ariana Shial's turn, her next turn, is going to be the moment where you are passing through the gate. So each of you have one more turn before that happens. In the cart, Trayvon has kind of made sure that Bodhi is down kind of at the, basically what's the footboard, and is almost kind of leaning protectively over him. And he kind of looks up, kind of just over the top of this small wall that separates the back of the horses, and sees what's about to happen. And he looks up to you, Ariana Shial, and he says, "Is this something you do all the time?"
We'll talk later, but no.
You're insane.
We got to get out of here. Can't stay. You've seen them. They'll kill us all.
We're all going to die anyways. He kind of looks at the gap ahead of him and then leans back down again to cover the boy.
Have faith. Blessed Luna will get us through.
Dane, your turn.
So, how far behind the lead wagon are we at this point?
You guys are about 20 to 25 feet The mob is very close behind you.
So close mob behind us, and then guys with weapons to prevent us from leaving ahead of us. Awesome.
Oh, wait a second. I was actually going to see if we could like barrel through the area with the Justicar before we blew past them toward the gate.
Okay, you'd have to basically head back into town the opposite way of the gate in order to do that.
Okay. Never mind then.
Okay.
All right. So this is the cart that Lightnor and Dane normally travel in, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So Dane holding the sword and looking at the mob, and then looking towards the upcoming great sword and spear, and immediately dying when all these people stop us at the gate. I'm going to set Lightnor's sword down, maybe to his surprise. He just handed it to me. And I set it down, and then Dane's going to pull out a simple hunting bow. And kind of, with a very shaky hand, is going to knock an arrow, and like literally crying his eyes out from the pain and what he's about to do, he goes, "It's just a deer. It's just a deer. It's just a deer." And for the guy with the spear.
Excellent. What is the range on this bow?
It's 30-60. So,
Okay, so this will be at disadvantage.
yep, I was expecting that, but thanks for rubbing it in.
Sorry.
17 on the first die, 15 on the second die. So it'll be a 17 total.
Okay. Yeah, that's plenty to hit. So roll that damage.
7 points of damage.
All right. You sink this arrow, and this strikes this guy right where the collarbone and his neck meet. He's kind of readied this spear towards this charging horse, and he takes this arrow and spins backwards, his spear kind of flying into one hand, the head of it burying itself into the mud of the street, and he staggers out of the way and falls down face first in the ground. It doesn't look like he's dead, but he is certainly he's certainly not going to be much of a fight.
And the bow just falls from Dane's black and blue broken hand, and in the wagon he falls to his knees and starts sobbing.
Zettel, the wife of Bernard, kind of turns to you, Dane. She says, "Oh, Dane, don't you worry about it, none. Don't worry, sweetie. It's fine. I'm sure he'll survive."
And when she does that, I turn, and like the hem of her skirt, like as muddy as it is, he just clasps it and grabs it to his eyes and is just crying in that like he would his mother.
She is kind of somewhat of a surrogate mother to you, a little. And she kind of feels the pain that you feel, though in the moment there's not much that she's able to do to comfort it. John, it's your turn.
So John's going to look over and see Dane shoot this bow, and then he's going to see Dane have a breakdown about it. And he's going to kind of readjust this pike, this halberd on his arm, and then reach over and like put his hand on Dane's shoulder. "Good thinking, young Dane. That's nice and tactical of you. All right, now." He's going to say, "Bernard, you take the reins from Ansel. Ansel, grab the crossbow and you fire at some folks as well. We're going to get through this gate, one way or another."
And Ansel kind of tries to, he kind of reaches beneath the sheet, beneath the seat rather, and kind of pulls out this crossbow. And I think this thing is probably beat to hell and back again. There's probably been several places where this thing has been repaired, but Ansel just won't give it up. Like this is like his prized possession. He kind of hands the reins sloppily over to Bernard, who kind of fumbles with them for a moment before he gets a hold of them. and he kind of rights his leg up on this this forward stirrup and kind of puts his elbows on his knee, trying to steady himself as best he can. So go ahead and roll that for me, if you would, Eli. Roll a d20. I don't know if we have stats for Ansel or not, but let's just say he's a woodsman. So we'll give him a +3 to this attack.
Okay, so that's a 12 total.
Okay. This hits, but it glances off of this soldier's armor. So it kind of, by the time that it arcs and gets to him, it kind of up against his chainmail and kind of dangles from the cloth of his tabard that lays over his chainmail. So you can tell that it wasn't a solid hit.
Okay. If it's possible, then is the wagon going to pass through to the point where I can actually attack with the halberd yet?
Through the gate? Not yet.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Next turn.
In that case, then I think I'll just, good shot, Hansel, but better luck next time, and then continue on.
Okay. Yeah, and he kind of busies himself reloading as fast as he can. That brings us to Eddard.
They've stopped closing the gates. It's just the two flanking now, correct, that we're kind of charging in towards.
Yeah, one of them is now laying face down in the dirt, an arrow kind of taken to the neck, the lower part of his neck. The other one is still standing with his greatsword drawn.
Okay.
And he looks fairly formidable.
Okay. The one that is still standing as the target of my next action, Eddard goes into his pack, the one he always keeps on him, and this is probably the first time you or anybody in the party has seen this. He pulls from his sack a very, very well-polished brass flute, and he pulls it and he puts it to his lips, and he plays just this quick arpeggiated, just, and when he gets to the last note, it sounds really, really beautiful to you, but the guy that he's looking at, it's like someone cranked the EQ on the high all the way up, and it's just piercing his eardrums. Casting Dissonant Whispers again. He needs to make a wisdom saving throw.
All right. And see again?
13.
13. He fails. So
15 psychic damage.
15 psychic damage?
And he has to run. He has to use his reaction to run away from me.
Okay. He immediately drops his greatsword and reaches up and puts his hands on both sides of this helm and begins screaming, and he turns and runs towards the open gate. But he gets 2 or 3 steps before he completely loses his footing and falls to the ground and splays out completely motionless. And even from here, you can see the telltale sign of red running down both sides of his neck and covering the palms of his gloves. Tord, it's your turn.
Well, there was 2 people on the gate.
They've both been, well, one of them is prone, and the other one I think is also prone and probably dead now.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, there were only 2 people at the gate, and both of them are at least on the ground at this point. You can see other guards are rushing towards the gate, but they're not going to make it there in time.
Then I think I'm just going to hold on. Ready an arrow for whomever may potentially come close. Actually, there was a cart following behind us.
There is. And a lot of the villagers are immediately behind that.
All right, well, I'm going to try and hit the guy that's on the cart.
The cart is Sir John's people.
Oh, okay. Then never
Just
mind.
there you go.
Please don't.
I mean, you can if you'd like. I'm just clarifying.
I'm gonna finish this.
I'm gonna shoot the mule in the
No.
face.
I'm gonna, just ready an arrow for anybody that potentially, goes after Sir John's cart.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. The villagers close in, trying to get to you, Sir John, and your cart. That's going to bring at least one of them within striking distance of your pike, if you'd like. Haha. That rhymed.
Why, yes, I would like to strike with my pike.
Very poetic.
Okay, so here we go. That's a 15 to hit.
Yes, absolutely. And again, they're minions, so you can describe it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So basically, the wagon is charging along, and I see this guy coming up, kind of approaching from the side, and he's running like he's going to try and jump onto the wagon. And so John pivots, and he lifts his halberd up in just such a way that the guy gets impaled on it, and then he's kind of stuck and dragging behind. And so Sir John has to yank it back out, and the guy falls down and tumbles to the dust.
Does kind of collapsing a basket of gathered apples in the process as they spill out kind of on the ground everywhere. All right. That brings us back to the top of the order with Ariana Shial. So here's what I need from you, Karen. I'm going to need at least one last check. But this time, because of this narrow space and the fact that these horses are really not wanting to do this, you're going to be at disadvantage.
Okie dokie. And I'm going to use the Bardic and Desperation dice on this roll.
All right, excellent.
Okay, so that would be a total of 18 on the lowest die.
Fantastic. So you thread this like a needle, nearly at top speed, maybe sighing a little bit of relief as the two individuals who had placed themselves between you and this opening were felled before you had to potentially injure your horses running them over. And the horses, you're able to coax them and guide them straight through this opening. And as you do so, the axles of your wagon literally scrape and rub the wood of the open door as well as the end of the closed door. And there's, that awful noise of wrenching wood on wood as you manage to squeeze through this opening and are now free of Warrington. You see the head of Trayvon kind of look up. Huh? You did it. You actually did it.
Ye of little faith. Of course. Now, is the boy okay?
He's frightened, but he's safe for the time being, at least.
We're not taught yet. Hang on. And she would keep driving as fast as the horses
Absolutely.
would go at this point.
Dane, your turn.
Dane is still just lost. So, I mean, he is just crying. And it's a mixture of pain, of exhaustion, and of killing somebody in his mind at the moment. So, yep. He just lays there and cries and tries to choke it back and stop, but every time he does, it just wells up again.
Dane, I imagine like your eyes are probably like shut really tightly maybe even trying to force these tears from pouring out. And in between your sobs, there's a quiet whisper. Dane, listen to me. Listen to me. This face kind of comes into the darkness inside your mind, just barely visible. Dane, it will be all right. You have the heart of a lion. You are doing what you must to protect yourselves and the lives of others. Nothing could be truer of a knight. Stay strong, my son. Stay strong.
And so he kind of does that last little like whimper, and then and without thinking, right, he takes the hem of this lady's dress and just wipes his face with it, smearing mud onto his face and snot onto her hem. And he sits up, these bloodshot eyes, and he looks at Lightenor. I'm sorry. I'll do better next time. And he tries to like right himself as tall as he can, sitting.
There will be time for that later. For now, let us just get out of this village.
All right. This cart that you're on is significantly smaller than this carriage. So it's not difficult for Bernard to guide the single mule immediately behind where Ariana Shial just put this wagon. So you follow them right out of the gate, leaving the north of Warrington behind you as you slip into the woods. That is where we're going to take our break. So thank you, everybody, so far. This has been fantastic, and I've been having a lot of fun. So sit tight. It's going to be probably 5 to 10 minutes. Smoke them if you got them. Refill your drinks. Go to the bathroom, etc., etc.
You better have a lot left.
I have a fair amount, so hopefully there's as much enthusiasm and vigor as there has been thus far. So sit tight. We will be right back. Thank you, everybody who's been tuning in so far, and stick around.
Greetings.
All right. Hello, everybody out there. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening and watching with us, or thank you so much for tuning in and watching at a later date. It sincerely means a lot to me to know that people are enjoying what we're putting out. May have sounded weird. Whatever. The content that we are putting forth. I'll say it that way. I'm having a lot of fun already. This group, this cast of characters is it's just fantastic. These players understand this setting very, very well, and they're knocking every single thing that I throw at them out of the park.
I don't know. I got knocked out of the park there for a second.
Hey, man, if you're not sweating, then I'm not doing something right.
How about you? But I beat up Sir John Lightnor.
It's an inconclusive duel. I still live.
I'm not gonna lie, we literally had these same die rolls for like 5 rolls. I was like, this is ridiculous.
It was a 2 back-to-back natural 20s that I was like holding onto the edge of my seat there.
I killed like my whole kit in that fight.
It was absurd. Yeah, I had used a little bit of mine in the previous session. Otherwise, I would have been able to heal, but I had to heal between fights. And yeah, I gave it my all, but shoo, you swung for the fences, man.
I had to. I was afraid.
Yeah, the intention was to let that go for a round or two, and then have the mob kind of interrupt. But I mean, 2 rounds. Well, that was that was it.
It was over.
So, it worked. It worked out, I think. Cool. We have some people hanging out in the chit chat. Thank you very much, like I said, for tuning in. Looks like we've got Jeremy Fireplug. He's got a super cool name. Jamiko.
Should start a poll to see what people think. What young Dane is.
Oh yeah.
My money's on some sort of warlock. He's going to be our dark seed.
Ooh.
No, dude, he's clearly the Avatar.
He's clearly the Avatar.
I mean, he touched the water.
He healed me through the water.
That's hilarious. Looks like we have.
I'm actually only going to take levels in peasant, so sorry to disappoint you.
I found a whole peasant class.
Just take levels in that and see how long you can live for.
Yeah, at level 20, I get my own mud farm. It's great.
Wow, that's incredible, dude.
It's actually the only class where you can get a sustainable income.
At level 20, it finally gives you the option to pick from one of the core rulebook classes.
You aren't actually epic at level 20. You're still like level 5 for most standards. You're a folk hero. You become a background.
At level 5, you don't get summon mount. You get finally paid off mount.
Took the loan for mount.
Oh, man.
You don't acquire experience, just more debt.
God, is that the truth?
Your wisdom modifier is directly related to how much debt you have.
If only. Okay, cool. Let's see. Do we have? I think we have everybody back. Excellent. Okay. Do you guys have any questions or anything before we roll into the second part of this? Oh, okay, cool. Okay. So the 2 wagons have rumbled out of the town of Warrington at breakneck speed. And out here, there's not an abundance of outlying farms that surround the north side of Warrington, especially. And very, very quickly, you find yourselves riding into the wood. You have not quite yet reached the Umbra Wood. but you know that it is not far. And as you are leaving what you know to be normally the safety of town and road, and are now making this exchange into the wilderness of forest, I would like, if you would please, Eddard, Dane, and Sir John, each of you to relay a small tale about the dangers of the woods that you have heard before.
So, my mother was really big on stories. Of course, when I was younger, I don't listen to them too much anymore. But I remember on winters when Father would go away, and she would tell us a story. There's an old man who lives in the Umberwood. It's a small cottage, and he makes toys, or he used to make toys. And he lived there with his wife. And the toys that he would make, they were these prized gifts every winter for the children until his wife passed away. And it would be a sad story if it was just an old man in the woods, but as the fire crackled and Mom would talk, shadows bouncing on the wall. You see, his wife didn't die because she was an old lady, but because of the things that she knew and she did. Mom always said it was something about an older religion, a deeper understanding of something. But apparently, some of the villagers or hunters that would come to the woods didn't like the fact that she would talk to animals or sing to the trees. And so they killed her. And so somewhere deep in the woods is this flower-covered grave. It doesn't have a marker, but you'll know when you're there. And shortly past that, this old shack where small toy soldiers and dolls stand in the window guarding this old man. And she said that when the winds blow and the season's right, that you can still hear him in there tinkering away and laughing. The voice of small children that he never had for himself can be heard echoing through the woods. And you'll know that you're going the right way when you see, I think they're purple flowers, because that's what grows all over her grave. And if you meet her, or when you meet her, as long as you're kind, she'll help you. But if not, and that's where Mom would always stop. I tried not to get scared. Tried, but I don't know. I hope if I ever meet her, she thinks I'm nice.
John, when he was a boy, would often hear stories from his aunt. And one time she told him that there was a figure in the Umberwood who was a villain, a thief, and a criminal, wanted by the local authorities. And he would rob passers-by, especially the wealthier passers-by, and then he would take that stolen good and he would give it to undeserving commoners. Disgusting, according to Sir John's aunt. However, Sir John always had these stories and thought perhaps he's not so bad, this this figure in the forest who robs from the rich and gives to the poor. Perhaps there's something to that. Perhaps the rich have too much, and his aunt would always chide him and tell him, no, no, we are given everything we need, and anything that we receive is what we need, and that is the way of things. But Sir John just wasn't quite certain. There's always something that nagged him, and going into this forest now, he thinks to himself, well, perhaps there is a way for me to meet this man, and for me to test my skills in battle against him, and to see how worthy he is.
I'd probably make some small talk with Tord. Says, you know, it's kind of scary when we're out here in the roads, especially the further north we go. You know, in the kingdom, they used to tell me stories about a clan or a people that lived deep in the Umberwood, the darkest parts. They told me of these monstrous humanoids dressed only in furs, but not furs like you might have seen on people in the village. Disgusting, rotting, and putrid furs and wolf's head helms adorning their heads. And they would rob and proceed to kill passersby on the roads. You'd think that they might only have been doing it for supplies, but the body count started to add up. And you think that maybe it wasn't about the supplies at all. Maybe it was just about the bloodshed. I don't know. I just hope we don't run into him.
So as you move forward down this road that you know eventually leads all the way to Gendon's Wall, where the packed earth quickly turns wild past the opening. It's not so much a gate. You find yourself amongst these towering trees, these gnarled, dark shapes that blot out most of the sunlight that remains of this day. At one point, the trail turns, and you're able to see from a small rise in the land that you have climbed back towards the town. As you can see, several Warrington knights on horseback, now leaving the gate of Warrington. As Ariana Shial had pointed out, you are not yet free. You press onward a ways before Tord you hear a whisper in your mind. At least you think it is in your mind. It might have just simply been on the wind. Tord.
I would look to Eddard to see if there's any kind of look of recognition, or like he heard something, and if not, I would just listen to the words of the wood.
He doesn't seem to have heard anything, at least not that he's letting on. The voice continues. Find solace in the wood. You know its embrace.
I would probably ponder the words silently to myself.
Carts creak forward, rumbling on. The trail is not very well kept. A lot of these trees have grown roots onto this once trodden path. The grass grows up high in the middle of the road where the wagon tracks are far less frequent. As you're traveling deeper into this somewhat foreboding wood, what's being said? What's the general mood?
John has been mostly ignoring the surroundings, and he's been focusing a lot on Dane. And the only way that Sir John knows to comfort Dane is to help him to better understand the path of a knight. So he's going through the knightly tenets and explaining how they applied to the situation during the duel and the situation with the mob afterward. And so he's saying, as a knight, I was sworn to valor, and you and I both achieved that in spades today, and my heart knows only virtue. I tried to do what I could in that moment. My blade defends the helpless, and surely I did try to defend the helpless. I believe Bodhi to be falsely accused. My might upholds the weak. Again, Bodhi seemed weak. My words speak only truth. And then a shadow passes over his face, and he looks over at Tord, and he says, well, my words have not yet been proven true, and we will have to see what that means. And finally, my wrath undoes the wicked. I did everything I could to give Justica, our executor, her best chance to defeat those enemies who waylaid her. Does this make sense to you, Dane?
I think so. I understand that when we give our word, we have to stand by it. And that sometimes standing up for what you believe in means you have to do things that are difficult and that maybe you didn't know you could do.
Yes, like killing a person or hurting them very badly.
If I didn't do what I did, then the other day when I said I would stand up for Bodhi if you needed me to, if I didn't do what I did today, I would have been lying.
Yes, your word would not have been proven to be valuable in that moment, and I'm glad that it proved to be valuable after all. It is good that you took up arms in defense of not only your word, but also the boy Bodhi.
I should probably get my hand looked at, though. I think it's broken.
Yes, I worry the same, but we will have, perhaps someone here in the group knows things of medicine and healing, and they can take a look at you.
I'm within earshot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
well, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I imagine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
the carts are like riding next to each other now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it might be a good time to stop and try and hide the carts. We're not going to be able to escape them. They're on horses. They'll catch up. Put ourselves in a position of defense.
There is wisdom in this.
And I might be able to do a thing or two for your hand there, mate.
I'm glad you're okay, Sir Tord.
Just Tord. Tord's fine.
I'd appreciate anything you could do for my hand. There's a lot of us, and trying to hunt with the bow and not being able to use my hands could be really hard.
Tord would hop off the cart and walk over to Sir John's cart, and like underneath some burlap on like the back portion of his cart, Tord will flip over something and reveal his like rucksack that he had in hindsight stashed on Sir John's cart.
I thought you might be going my way in the end of this. And I'll take it, and kind of ruffle through it. Find like some two pieces of bone or something, worn in spots, and he'll walk over to Dane, and he'll basically just set your hand and use the rest of some of my lay on hands to recover any points you're missing. I don't know if you want a medicine. Yeah, sure, bone or something. So a medicine check or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Might not be very smart, but I can heal you. Yeah, 15 on the die for the medicine check to set the hand, and I don't know how many points you're missing. So
3, 4.
All right, you can have 4 points.
Okay.
And you see Tord's kind of sack here. It's kind of wrapped in like a fur that is like a cross stitch of both a wolf and a bear at the moment. It is like some odd hunting trophy that he has acquired in his time. And I guess finally for me, before I turn it over, do I see Benoit anywhere?
Yes. As a matter of fact, you see that Vanwa has been actually following you, kind of flying overhead, though low, close to the treetops. Not calling or calling out in any way, but definitely following you. And now that you have kind of stopped, pulled the carts off to just off the road or what have you, off to the side, this crow has landed in a nearby tree branch and is kind of rustling its feathers, shaking its head, and picking with its beak underneath its wings. And it's just kind of watching you.
I'll acknowledge it and help the party in any way they need help.
Evan, now that you have stopped, has kind of looked over at Ariana Shial. We're stopping. Why are we stopping?
We're not stopping. How far away is the wall? Gundan's wall.
It's probably 2 days' ride from here. So it's close in relative terms.
We're not stopping. We're just going to get rid of some excess weight. And with that, she's going to take off, release the horses from the cart. And so we can just take the horses by themselves.
Okay.
Leave the cart behind.
You can see that one of the horses has a cut on its flank. And it looks like through the pressing of them hard forward to get them out of Warrington, that wound has opened. That horse is It's not lame, but it's not going to be able to travel far. The other horse seems fine.
She would get the horse that looks fine. She would get it ready and kind of make a makeshift saddle for Bodhi to sit on, because he'd probably be the slowest of the party at this point, so that he could ride while they go. She has no intention of staying here too long. She's getting this horse ready, and then she's getting her gear and ready to continue on foot.
Right. And as Ariana Shial and Trayvon and Bodhi seem to be readying to leave, make a rapid departure on this horse and on foot, what are the rest of you up to?
Better just make sure he has his belongings from the cart. And he steps out, kind of stretches his legs, and pulls out his walking stick. And just continues to, or he prepares to get ready to go on foot. Yeah.
Where are you going?
North, through the wall. Back where my people are, where we can be safe. We're not safe here. They're following us. They'll hunt us down.
They'll catch you before they get to the wall.
No. We know the ways of the forest. We'll get there.
But there's only one horse. And there's so many of us.
We have feet. We can walk.
I'm just glad you said we. He smiles.
She kind of tilts her head a little bit to you. There's no smile on her face, but she kind of acknowledges what you've said. Besides, we'll leave less of a mark if we're walking. These carts, they're showing exactly where we're going.
Oh.
So John is in conversation with Bernard. He's yes. Well, I suppose we're going to need to make sure that we've got everything that we can carried with us on our horses. Untie the pack horse from the wagon and make sure the mule is loaded up with everything that it needs. Is there any way we can bring the tents with us, do you think?
Tents, sir. We intend to bushwhack, to go to the woods.
Well, I think it best that we not part ways just yet. Until the danger is past, we should make sure that we've got people at our backs who are interested in mutual defense. However, it means we're going to need to leave the wagon behind, and I know we won't be able to carry everything with us, but we do have certain priorities.
Right, sir. Of course. Forgive me. And he kind of immediately hops down and begins getting to work, trying to load up the mule and the pack horse.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Ariana Shial, as you've kind of been getting everything ready, a sudden and familiar ache creeps up into your legs. You know that the walking ahead of you is likely to become arduous.
She'd groan a little bit as the pain kind of fills her legs. And then she would bite it down. Say, we've got to go. We've got a long way, and it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, and they're going to be following us the whole way. Let's move now.
You gather the belongings you can with the 3 beasts of burden that you have at your disposal. And you set off into the woods, leaving the road and the 2 carts behind. I would imagine that Ansel might be leading the way. As a trained woodsman and hunter, he probably has a natural knack for picking a path. And as he does so, Tord, you notice that Vanwa has taken flight and is following you still. You hear the voice again. Tord. Tord. Seek the wood. Shelter in the wood.
I make some sort of check to see if I know what he's talking about specifically.
Yeah, go ahead and roll a, we'll call it a religion or nature.
We're going to go with religion because that's a +1 rather than a -1. 11.
You don't know. And though there seems to be some kind of connection between this voice and Vanwa, you're not even entirely sure that they are connected. You don't know that this voice really is Vanwa or what. It's hard to tell.
Then I'll probably just start being more observant of the environment around me rather than like the path, kind of just keeping track of Eddard in front of me as I'm paying attention to maybe anything that would like come to me instinctually as taking solace in the wood, flashback or anything like that.
Something wrong, Tord?
Nope. Why?
Just said ever since we got in the car, it looked like you've been lost in thought.
There's something tranquil about the woods. So yeah, maybe earthiness to the soil. I enjoy it, I guess.
If you say so. Can't say I feel the same, but I don't think we have another choice. Eddard kind of hikes up his robes, trying to avoid getting them caught in all the branches.
You learn to take in a certain beauty to it all. Life in its many forms.
I'd be lying if I ever said I'd been this far out. Warrington, civilization.
I'm a long way away from home, mate. This is probably the farthest I've been myself.
I guess we're one and the same then, to some extent.
Yes, to some extent.
We cut to a shot where we see several armored men on horseback at full charge entering the dark and scary wood that you had just entered moments before. Only this time from a perspective that's kind of this wide shot. And we can see almost faces of some of these trees, these ancient, far-reaching trees, as they kind of stare at these armored riders who are hot on your trail without moving or blinking. Toward, after this brief conversation with Eddard, you look up and notice that Vanwa is not anywhere around you.
I think there would actually be like a noticeable, like, looking around, almost not frantic, but like, uh-oh.
Is it?
Ed, do you seen a bird anywhere? Big, black, ugly.
I don't know. Let me see.
Keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes fucking peeled. Don't say anything to anyone just yet. Just pay attention.
All right. You got my word.
How's like the sounds of the forest? Is there like crickets or anything? Do we hear any animals of any kind?
You've heard some skittering through the underbrush and birds and whatnot kind of leaving the area as you're kind of traipsing through. But you've noticed about the same time that you noticed that Vanwa was not around, you have noticed that it has grown kind of quiet.
How far away am I from Ariana Shio?
Up to you.
Elf woman.
She would spin around in anger. How dare you talk to me?
Shh. Do you hear that? It's quiet. Too quiet.
All I hear is you. Now shut up. Let's go. Dirty orc.
Ka! Ka! You hear Vanwa's call toward up ahead. When you look, you can see Vanwa on a nearby branch, maybe 30 yards ahead of you or so, through a thinning in the canopy. The bird takes off from the branch and flies a little to your right, kind of swooping down, and you hear the rustling of feathers as it sounds like it has landed.
I would follow it.
Sword takes off. Eddard comes on us, right on us behind, just covers him.
Toward, you kind of come around a cluster of trees, and you see an individual perched on top of a rotted tree stump. Vanwa has landed on this being's outstretched hand, and with its free hand, this individual is kind of stroking Vanwa, holding its beak almost close to its face and speaking quietly to it.
Tord would approach slowly. I speak. I guess I can't speak it. I can cast speak with animals, but is it a language I understand?
Language of animals? No.
Or no, is she speaking a language like that I would understand, or is she speaking some sort of animal language?
This individual is speaking quietly, but you are fairly certain that you hear Sylvan.
Hoo-hoo. But I know Sylvan, so can I pick up on any keywords here?
Roll perception.
Absolutely. Damn, fucking 9 on the die.
I also speak Sylvan.
You can roll perception as well.
Yeah, just a 9 on the die.
Or I got you, buddy. Technical 20.
Yes. Eddard, my man.
All right. So, Tord, your ears are just not quite attuned well enough to overhear what's being said. However, Eddard, with a practiced ear, this might be the first time that you've really ever heard Sylvan spoken aloud.
Definitely.
But you can hear this individual basically just telling Vanwa that it's a good bird. You're a good bird. Yes. Oh, you've brought them here. Oh, wonderful.
Tord, she's praising the bird. She says she's questioning that it brought us here.
All right.
Hera would probably say something to the effect in broken Sylvan. I mean, we mean you no harm.
This creature, this fae, this elf, turns on its stump and cocks its head to the side almost like an animal and watches as you kind of approach a little bit. And then it peers beyond you and kind of sees some of these other individuals trailing behind you. You enter my wood. Why?
See, we travel with elves. They mean to go north, past Kindred's wall, back to their home.
Yeah. Refugees of sorts.
You are not alone in these woods. You have brought men with ill intent.
No, they chase us. I'm not sure what else we can do. We only flee. In self-defense.
They chase you. Why? Are you prey?
I guess.
Not really how I would put it, but in a natural way of things, yeah.
Strictly by number.
This individual climbs down off of this stump and kind of slinks forward almost like a cat, standing on the balls of their feet, and approaches you Tord and very much pardon me, very much invades your personal space, comes right up close to you and is staring at your tusks and your skin and even your height. This individual like actually puts a hand out on your shoulder and then kind of pulls it away, almost as if comparing the height of your shoulder to their total height. It has been over a century since I have seen one of your kind.
But
You are an orc of the Southlands, are you not?
that's right.
I have slain many of your kind once upon a time. The rest of you, you are all an odd group. And you, he kind of looks past to eye Ariana Shial and switches to speaking Elven fluently. You would travel with these other races, these barbarians.
Not willingly. They're kind of along for the ride. Don't want that one with me. And she would be throwing her head towards the direction.
Ariana Shial, you recognize that this individual is not an elf. Though the appearance is very similar, you can tell by the markings, the trappings, or whatever that it is carrying, the way that it talks and moves. This is a fae. This is one of the fairy folk.
We mean you no harm. We're just passing through, trying to get to the wall, get north, get to safety.
You will not find safety with the predators you have on your heels. I know. I'll help you. You would like my help, wouldn't you?
For what price?
Oh, nothing expensive. A trifle, really. Each of you, I can hide each one of you from the horse-riding individuals who chase you. I ask only a kiss from each of you. However, if you're not willing to part with a kiss, a lock of hair will do nicely. He kind of reaches up and actually puts a hand through Eddard's hair and kind of curls a little bit of it around a finger. So have we a deal?
Your price is steep. And Ariana Shaw, you could see her kind of shudder a little bit, but not really. It's not a shudder of disgust. More so that she's dealt with these before, and she's fighting back. Fighting back almost like this desire, this need. And she's like, fine, you can have your kiss from me.
Oh, wonderful. And this individual kind of dances almost, spinning and laughing, almost carefree, over to where you are, Ariana Shial, and leans in and puckers its lips in almost this almost obscene like behavior.
Oh, just do it.
And it leans in and kisses you. And spins around and says, "Oh, exhilarating."
And Ari would, as they kiss, it'd be this kind of a moan followed by this kind of painful cry at the same time. Just like, I hope you're satisfied.
Oh, satisfaction is all that matters. So, speaking of such things, anyone else willing to accept my offer?
Leonard is just enamored. He doesn't know what to say, but he's poring over this figure, and they're hair and tattoos and the pointed ears and her mannerisms, just absorbing everything.
Sir John sort of steps forward. And what if we do not agree to your terms?
It's very simple. If you do not agree with the price that I have made these offerings to you, then there is simply no exchange.
And in exchange for a lock of hair or a kiss, you will protect us from these pursuers of ours.
They will not even see you. You have my word.
And so if we do not take your offer, then we are left at their mercy.
It seems you are at a crossroads.
Sir John's going to turn around to Dane. Dane, my boy, you have proven to be wise beyond your years. What does your mind tell you about this situation?
I know that nothing comes without a price, and that no stranger without a purpose offers you help without something in return. And to hide us from what could be very dangerous, the riders pursuing us, why would she offer to do that for only a kiss or a lock of hair? You carry a lock of hair of someone that you want to remember, of someone that you need an attachment to. And kisses are meant to signify something. I would think that there's some unwritten or spoken price that the kiss is simply sealing. I don't want to die in the woods either.
I think listening to Dane, Tord would do it.
So Tord takes the offer of which?
I'll kiss them.
When Tord makes that known, the individual spins and swirls over to where the orc is and says, "You're very reasonable for one of your kind."
I don't want to live past today. Don't make a few deals here and there to make that happen.
Very well. And it leans in for the kiss again.
I'll meet it like 20%. It's got to lean the other 80.
It does so. They lean in and plant this kiss upon your lips. It's unlike kissing anyone else that you've ever kissed before. There's, I don't want to say magic that kind of transpires, but almost. There's an almost like a fracture of euphoria. A fraction of euphoria, rather, kind of underlies it. Well, that's two who are under my protection. Anyone else? What about you, clever boy? They kind of round on Dane.
Why are those your prices?
Why not?
Because they mean something to you.
Perhaps they do. Perhaps they don't. It's a simple offer. If you do not wish to take it, if you question to the point of discomfort, you do not have to take it. I mean you no ill will or harm.
No. I don't think you do.
Can I roll an insight check?
Sure.
21.
You get the impression that while this being may not intend any harm, that might not extend past the immediate future. You know that Fae are very fickle creatures.
John's going to put his hand on Dane's shoulder, a common gesture at this point, and he's going to say, "Now, young Dane, you can do whatever it is you want to do. You can choose their offer, or you can choose to leave it."
I think we should all accept it. I'm not saying there won't be a price to pay in the future, or some reckoning or unforeseen something. But it's better than dying here and now. What would it have done to kill a man in combat to have only gotten Bodhi 100 feet outside the city?
So John's going to nod and then stand up and look over at Eddard and say, "So Bainton, Lord Bainton, what do you think?"
That's my opinion. I believe that if she meant us any immediate harm, we're on her homeland. She could have easily done us harm when we came through. So he turns to the Fae. "My lady," and he pulls a strand of his bright red hair. "My young compatriot said it best. You normally take a strand of hair from somebody you want to remember. Would you be willing to make a deal so that I can have something to remember you by?" And I'd like to roll a persuasion check.
Okay. Go ahead and roll.
19.
Perhaps. So, if you wish to make a further bargain, a deeper bargain, what is your offer?
Well, simply put, you get this lock of hair that you want, and you protect us. I just want something to remember you by. You're very intriguing, and I've been studying on different cultures and people, so I ask only for something simple as perhaps your earring.
You wish for my protection in exchange for a lock of your hair. If you want something more, you must offer more.
Very well, it seems that I don't have much more to offer you.
Oh,
So
you have plenty.
really, what is it that you want from me besides this lock of hair?
Oh, I've already said, a kiss. A kiss and a lock of hair would do very, very nicely. You have such lovely hair. It reminds me of the trees as they approach winter. But a kiss, I think, would remind me of spring.
Eddard steps forward. So be it. The lock, he hands it to her, and the kiss, and he steps forward closer.
The being leans in and kisses, also taking the lock of hair It then reaches up and pulls one of the earrings from its left lobe and extends it to you, Eddard, with a large smile on its face. There you are.
I'd like to remember you by.
Indeed. And you, master to your servant. She turns to Sir Lightnor.
Sir John is going to look this Fae up and down and kind of put his hands on his hips and turn around and walk over towards his servants. And he's going to take out his dagger, and slowly he's going to confirm this is okay. And then he's going to cut a piece of hair off of each servant. And then he's going to go over to Dane and Dane, do you want this?
Not my hair.
Very well. Come with me. So he's going to take you over to this Fae and say, this young man is interested in partaking of your bargain, Fae.
Wonderful. That's 3, I see. And master and servant?
Sir John's going to grab a piece of his hair up on his brow and cut it off and give some hair, like all the hair from his servants and himself, to the Fae.
Oh, wonderful.
Actually, you know what? Ansel doesn't do it. Ansel's a woodsman. He probably knows better. He's going to take his chances.
Okay.
Yeah. But Bernard and Zettel and myself all give hair.
So a kiss.
A simple kiss. Oh. It is your first. Oh, how special. So?
My mother used to tell me that autumn always kills summer with the softest kisses. I hope you're different. And he'll lean over and kiss the Fae.
It indeed kisses back. And there's this moment of exchange, this sweetness. And then the creature turns and says, that leaves only 2. And begins striding over to where Trayvon, still shackled, and Bodhi are standing somewhat nearby Ariana Shial. And Trayvon turns to Ariana Shial. He says, elf.
No. And Ariana Shell would get in between with the Fae and both Trevon and Bodhi. And she would turn to the Fae and be like, no, I'll pay their price.
You cannot.
Why not?
It is not your price to pay. It is theirs.
They are my kin. They are my blood. I can pay.
I see. Well then. I've already taken a kiss on behalf of yourself. I will take a lock of hair for one, and for the other, a drop of blood. Since they are, as you said, your blood.
Blood. And hair. You want both?
Aye. 3 individuals under my protection, 3 prices.
What about another kiss and the blood?
No. The kiss I've already gotten.
Very well.
Oh, wonderful again. What a happy meeting.
And Ari would pull out this black obsidian dagger that she has, and she would cut a lock of her hair, and then at the same time take that dagger and slice one of her fingers and cover the hair with the blood before handing it to the Fae. There. You better keep your word.
Oh, tainted child. The Fae always keep their word. And this being begins to back away and, bowing slightly, begins to turn into leaves as the wind picks up and scatters them about the forest. In the distance, crashing through the woods, you hear men shouting back from the road. You can tell that they have found the carts and wagons and are probably only moments away from finding your trail. If you would, please, Eli, give me a roll for Ansel, a stealth roll.
Oh, so can I use the bardic inspiration that I picked up from Eddard in the last session on this roll?
No, it only lasts 10 minutes.
Oh,
but
that's too bad.
I intended at the break to give everybody a point of inspiration for the RP and stuff that you guys have done thus far. It's all been top notch, and I just completely forgot about it. So if you'd like, you can spend that in order to re-roll.
I will indeed. I will indeed do that. Ah! So I got a 6 on the die.
Okay, let's see. Okay. All right. So the first batch of them are clueless. These individuals come riding up on their horses, definitely stopping and checking the trail occasionally. And they come within feet of where you all stand. Entering this clearing, one of them hops down off of his horse as they all kind of come to a stop and begins kind of looking around at the ground. These people are passing inches away from all of you. And not a one of them seems to be able to see you, hear you, smell you, or feel the closeness of your presence. One of them says, I don't understand. The tracks, they lead right to this spot. And they just disappear. And one of them that's still mounted on his horse says, that's impossible. Look harder. I don't know what to tell you, Captain. I'm looking everywhere. I don't see any sign of them. They keep this up for several minutes. Then the one that was on the ground begins to mount back up. And just then, there's a snapping of a twig. They all round, and we cut to a shot of their viewpoint as we see Ansel leaning part way out from behind a tree. He looks to them, his eyes grow wide, and he turns and runs. Immediately, the horsemen take off after him, charging off into the darkness of the forest. And beyond the sight and sounds of the clearing where you all now stand, that is where we're going to stop. So I am going to throw things over to you guys. If you want to do a brief epilogue of your character in this scene, as well as your outros, and we will wrap this up and call it a night. So first up, we have Steve.
So, standing in this in these woods, inches away from people who, as he saw earlier, would rather kill most of us than stop and ask questions. There's a bittersweetness to the passing of these people. Like, the question pops in his head whether he's the shadow or they're the shadow, as they sort of move in between these bushes and scrub. And in that moment, he thinks back to the events of the last 2 days and this trial of a child and a father who would literally kill to protect his son, and the pain that that man had when Ari showed up and he realized who she was and being separated from his mother, and that's kind of the path that Dane's going down now. And there's a moment of regret for having left the farm. And then he looks around and sees all these individuals who, by chance and need, are united, at least for the moment. And then a smile creeps across his face as he sees these small purple flowers dotted across the ground that seem to grow up onto that little stump where the Fae was perched when we first got there. And the thought enters his head, well, I hope she thought I was nice.
Absolutely. Is there an outro that you wanted to do as a personal goodbye?
So I have the YouTube channel, 3D6. It's been kind of on hiatus for the moment, but I was invited to participate in a new project. So we'll see it starting in November. It'll be a Saturday, twice a month game that will be podcasted in YouTube. And the channel will be a good friend of mine's, but it is called A Murder of Hobos. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'll keep everyone posted, but it should be very good stuff. And as always, I appreciate the game. I enjoyed the heck out of tonight. It was just really, really a lot of fun, and I think that I really like Ari's new accent. I really think that brings a nice piece to it, and I think you did a great job with that.
Excellent, Steve. Thank you. And yeah, man, that new project sounds awesome. If you would please, whenever that gets going, just pass me the information, and I will make sure to include it in the future descriptions for the game. And next up, we have Karen.
So after paying the last price, the lock and the blood, Ari kind of staggers away from the Fae towards Trevin and Bodhi, and she kind of leans on the horse. And that's when it all kind of hits at the same time. The pain that she's been feeling, this price that she's just paid, and she knows the implications that is going to come down. And she kind of just collapses on the ground, kind of in a heap. And you can't hear it, but her shoulders show that she's kind of like weeping silently while the rest of the incident with the men happen. And that's where we'll leave her. And Karen, I have a YouTube channel, Myth and Gears, and there's not much on it right yet, but we're getting there. And the next session is actually next Sunday, so I'm excited for that. And if you're interested, check it out. And that's all I've got to say. It was so much fun. So much fun. This session was so intense. Yeah, it was great, and everybody was so awesome. I enjoyed this game so much. So thank you very much.
Thank you for being a part of it. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun to kind of explore this part of Ariana Shiel's past, and it's been a great thing to hang a lot of the events of what's been going on off of, and hopefully we'll be able to start doing that with a lot of the other characters in addition. I think, as a matter of fact, we probably see a moment of where Ariana Shiel's shoulders are sobbing. We actually, I think, see Trayvon standing a short distance away watching this. And he might even take like a half step in Ariana Shiel's direction before he turns and walks away. Next up, we have Josh.
Imagine the last scene that Eddard has in this moment. Watching the riders ride away. He looks back. Is the Fae still there, or is she gone now?
No, the Fae has dissipated into leaves and blown away with the wind.
He thinks about the events of the past couple of days and how he came to be basically further away from this home than ever, with almost complete strangers apart from Ariana Shiel. And he thinks about this is probably it for him. This is the adventure that he was seeking, the cultures that he was meaning to find, the Fae creatures, all the intricacies of the world that they don't write about. And he looks around at his party. He looks down to the single earring in his hand, and he gives a gentle smirk and clasps it tight in his hand, and that's where we leave him. And yeah, like I said, my name is Josh. I have the channel Roll the Bones. Coming soon, probably in the month of November, I'm going to start my world building series where I host a live stream on YouTube and crowdsource some ideas. We get together, chill, talk about world building, and make a map, make some documents, basically a whole world from scratch. And that's pretty much all I got. Thanks again, Jeremy, for the game. Thanks again, all the players, Baron, Eli, Steve, Karen. It's always a blast to play with you guys, and look forward to seeing where this game goes, man. It's getting real intense real fast.
Good deal, man. And I am excited for to see that world building thing come to fruition as well. That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, I've been having a ton of fun with Eddard and all of the characters so far. You guys you're just bringing so much flavor to this. You're making it very, very fun and easy to do my job. So I thank you. Next up, we have Baron.
Well, you see Toad with one hand on the hilt of his sword and the other on at its shoulder as the soldiers pass by. And as they hopefully don't get Ansel, but as they escape my field of vision, I look for Vanois. And I don't really I don't know what Tort's thinking right now because I don't know what the fuck to think. So I want to leave it at that. I run the YouTube channel RWD Gaming. Come check us out. We got some new stuff going on at the end of the month. This should be a once-a-month thing. You can find me here various times of the month, and you will also see me in Karen's Genesis game next Sunday. So come hang out with us then. And I've been on the edge of my seat for the last 4 hours, so I'm ready for bed, and appreciate you having me.
Always, Baron. Thank you, man. Tord has been a really nice kind of, not a juxtaposition, but almost like a nice study in opposites. The kind of rougher side of life here in Vykaril.
Like the only person that hasn't killed somebody yet. You guys have 7.
And especially kind of in stark contrast to some of the tenets and behaviors of an actual titled knight. So yeah, that brings us right to Eli.
Yeah, so Sir John, everybody probably walks for a little while later through the night to get away from the spot where they were, and then eventually they're going to have to camp. And so Sir John, as they're walking, he is noticing that Bernard and Zettel are both really rattled by everything that's just happened. They've just given their hair to some strange magical creature who's made them invisible, and their companion Ansel is missing, pursued by armored knights, and they're really rattled. And so he not only tells them to start setting up the camp, but he also does a lot to help them set up the camp too, as a way to kind of comfort them. And the whole time we're getting these snippets of flashback from Sir John's history with Ansel, and we see that, you know, Sir John's dad assigned Ansel to teach Sir John the finer points of using a crossbow and using a bow and that sort of thing. It's supplementary to the other weapon training that he had as a young squire. And Ansel was the first guy who ever got Sir John drunk. He was just a really solid guy, like not a super close figure in his life, but still, like every time he showed up, Sir John had a good time. And Sir John is feeling the lack of hair on his own brow, but he's not feeling it as much as he's feeling the lack of hair from both Bernard and Zettel. And these thoughts are weighing really heavily on him. And then he looks over at Tord and realizes that also he's made a vow that he hasn't fulfilled yet. And so while he's leaning into the work of setting up the camp, he's preoccupied with these other thoughts as we fade to black. And yeah, so I'm Eli Kurtz. You can find me on the Mythic Gazetteer, which is all over everywhere. Just look it up somewhere. You'll find it, I bet. You can also find me on the actual play of Blades in the Dark that I'm running on my channel, which is linked below. So thanks so much to Jeremy and everybody. It was a really wonderful session. It felt like we really got into the nitty-gritty of rolling dice and stuff this time, and it was still a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to where this goes. And Jeremy, I got to tell you, that was a really fun elf. I'm terrified of this guy.
Good. Absolutely, man. You guys just absolutely, like I said, you just get it, and you just take it and run with it, which is always a ton of fun. I love throwing the kinds of challenges of this setting at you guys and watching what you're going to do with it. I am showing you right now the House Warrington's sigil, their decorated shield, as drawn, as I said, by Rachel Ayres, because I was not able to find a good spot to insert it during the campaign itself. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I show these off as often as possible. And I think the one last thing that we might see is as you're setting up camp, Ariana Shial, you actually find a small, I hesitate to call it a package, but it is a package. It's kind of wrapped in leaves and set at your camp when you get there and start, setting things up. And as you uncover it, you actually discover that it is leaves, a bundle of leaves from the Telendor tree. Something that you have used many times before. So that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this evening. I had so much fun. I love this campaign. I love this group of characters, as well as this group of players. I can't wait till we have session 3, and we find out what more craziness we can get up to. So thank you very, very much for tuning in. Thank you for anybody who may have watched this in the future. I'm Jeremy, and hit the like, subscribe button, all that jazz, and make sure that you are around for next time. And until that time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.